Good evening, and welcome to Pixels and Pints. Tonight, we're going to be talking about all sorts of pop culture, some video games, maybe a little movie or two that we've seen at the Picture Theatre. Tonight, I am joined by Pete.
Hello.
And Dan.
Shit, I was on mute because I didn't want to laugh. Hi.
And I'm Tom. And we're going to be talking about whatever the fuck we want to talk about. So you're just going to be strapped in for the ride.
Strapped
you pack
in.
of...
Nobly.
Didn't say it. Said I wouldn't.
Strap in, strap on, get ready for the wild ride.
Strap yourself in and feel the G's. Yes, it's Pixels and Pints. Enough of that silly shenanigans. It is a Wednesday in April. Good checking, Tom. You know what day it is. And yeah, we're in for a bit of a fun night. It actually looks like a pretty good run sheet.
I'm impressed.
Most thing I did at work today was write that run sheet. So you're welcome, boys.
Did you calculate how much money you got paid to do a run sheet for a podcast at home?
I was at work. I wasn't at home.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like
It was actually I'm proud of the amount of multitasking I was doing. I was talking to customers while I was typing up like notes about like the news that was happening at the moment, and they're like, then I was talking to the customers about it. They were like, we had a bunch of like cool nerds in today, so it was collaborative. I was talking about beers. I was talking about the shit I was going to talk about tonight. We might have some new listeners, so hey, if you're one of those guys at the brewery today, fuck yeah, good on you. Love you.
I think my point was, have you ever, like, because I smoke, right? So if I go out for a smoke break, then I can do the math, but I'll do something that so you ever taken a shit at work?
Boss makes $1, I make a dime. That's why I poop on company time.
Yeah. Spend 15 minutes taking a shit during your shift at work. You know, right? That's my hourly rate. So this turd is worth X dollars. Have you ever done the math on that?
Yes, Peter, I have. And yes, Peter, I will continue to.
Glad I'm not alone. Carry on.
That's why I sing the little song. I'm sitting there just working that
Probably
colon.
shouldn't squirm around, mate. That's fuckers that look like you that leave skid marks. Carry on. You're going to take us into
anyway,
some
speaking
news.
of skid marks, let's go right into the news. Let's go from the beers we're drinking. What are we starting with tonight, gentlemen? Peter.
I'm writing my Batman notes because I've got a couple of points.
He did actual work today. He didn't just talk to nerds about beer and pop culture.
I tried to do like live commentary to record it for prosperity's sake and got shut down by Dan.
What was cinematic experience?
You shot yourself in your foot with that
phone
one.
off. One Drop Brewing Strawberry Hibiscus Sour. All of my beers tonight are going to be One Drop. It's going to
repping the boys from Botany.
It's going to be interesting.
Woo!
They are... How far away from my place do you reckon Botany is? Maybe 15 to 30 minutes drive, somewhere in that range. Not far.
Yeah, it's the airport. It's right next to the airport.
Yeah, so 30 minutes max, right? I ordered this stuff and I expected it to take a couple of days. I went to Brizzy for a week for work. Got back and randomly got an SMS saying, hi, this is Courier's Pete. Please, we've got a package for you that didn't have your unit number on it. We couldn't deliver it to your address. Can you please SMS us your actual address? And then when I checked I'd forgotten about it, to be honest. When I checked the tracking, it had been sitting in a fucking depot for a week before they even bothered reaching out to ask me what my address was. And then it took them another week after that to actually get me the beers. They arrived this morning. So I'm going to be interested to see how badly oxidized these are, considering they're probably sitting in a tin shack for 2 weeks while they're waiting for delivery.
I will actually jump in on Courier's Please here because we use them at the brewery and they actually are pretty good.
They know much better than a lot of the competition. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
in this
when they pick up
instance,
stuff, especially from breweries, they do like our guy who picks us up. It's really funny to watch him like put it in the truck because he like finds the darkest, middlest spot of the truck and like shoves all the beer in there and then puts all the clothes at the front. Yeah. So if he brakes too suddenly, all the beer hits the like clothes and like just bounces back softly, and then all the other stuff's at the back. So they do know when they pick up stuff from like a cold store that, yeah, and like they put it into. I know that they put it into a like the center part of the warehouse, so at least it's in the coolest part if it has to sit there.
I wasn't having a go at the company in general. Just in this particular circumstance, it was a bit of an epic fail. Yeah. And for them to take a week to SMS me to ask me my address when it was my mobile number was on the label, underneath my half address, and then to take another week to get it to me. Anyway, this is fucking lovely, actually. There's a solid strawberry hit all the way through, both in the nose and in the palate, but there's a little something in there. It's
Acid.
it is very acidic, actually, but it's acidic flavor. It's not just the sourness sensation that you get. It's also that acidic taste. No, that's lovely. The strawberry's quite well balanced. It's not overpowering. It doesn't at all taste synthetic. I should note that I am coming out of COVID, so my taste buds have been off back, probably somewhere back in Brisbane for the last couple of weeks. So it's only just starting to return.
So
Have you got your... Well, I mean, as a smoker, you've probably never had one, but have you got your sense of smell back as much as you used to have it? As you know, from an interesting
they're the
COVID point of view?
same. No, so my answer would be no, but not that I've noticed through smell, only through taste, because about 70% of taste is smell.
Yeah.
Dan will know the exact percentage because he made us all do the jelly bean
I
trick.
did,
right at
but
the
that was
start
a
of the
long
podcast.
time ago. That
Like
was
5
very
years
long
ago now.
Yeah.
And every time Dan says to me, hey, you want to do the jelly bean trick? I say, no, I'm calling Child Protective Services.
Yes, so that's my review of that beer. That's very tasty. I should say it's, what's the percentage? 3.4. I thought I'd start with a light one because I had a couple of gin and tonics just to get through a work call that ended at 6:30. And I think I'm ending the night with two 11.5%. So probably going to quarter pour those and just...
Good night, Peter.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right, Dan, what are you drinking?
I'm not a fan of
having tonight?
wet hopper beers, but because it is two fantastic breweries, Bridge Road
I just bought
and
that.
Garage Project,
Glad I didn't pick
I
it.
thought I would get the fresh... Sorry, the light is completely
That's okay.
glaring off that. It's their
No
fresh
one
hop.
watches our YouTube anyway.
Okay. You know
Gordo
what?
does. I love
the
you,
funny
Gordo.
thing is, I can read it better on the screen through the camera than I can in the fucking dark in this room.
It's called Dark Harvest, Dan.
It's Dark Harvest Fresh Hop Black IPA. It's a 6.6%. There's nothing else on there. It's nice. I still am not on the team of wet hopped beers. There's something, and I mean,
Dan, this is where you should explain what wet hopping is.
Wet
Otherwise,
gonna
James will
ask.
yell at us.
wet
For me, not fuck James.
Wet hop is fresh hops straight from the harvest that haven't been processed, haven't been dried or anything like that. It's only available once a year during harvest. I would say
So
that,
otherwise, it's usually pelletized.
or dried hop cones, dried flowers. So these would be fresh, really resinous, and they'd be super aromatic when you got them out of the bag. Like they'd be. I've never opened a bag of fresh
Knock you
wet
out.
hop, so I'd really love to just smell some, but I'm still not sold on wet hop beers. I'm sorry, Bridge Road and Garage Project. It's a nice beer. It's a nice black beer. I wouldn't call it a black IPA. There's not enough bitterness there, and there's not enough actual hop character and aroma because they're wet hops, not pelletized dry hop. There is that little bit of vegetal characteristic that comes from boiling a fresh plant. There's nothing wrong with it. I think it is exactly what it is. It's a fresh hop black pale ale. And so there's nothing wrong with it. It's nice, and it's a interesting style to have just because it is that little bit different. I do have the lighter version of this that will be not my second beer, but my third beer. And we'll see how that stacks up against the black one.
Yeah, cool. What's the ABV?
6.6. Oh, but on the beer itself, there is some like light hop character coming through, some chocolate character from the dark malts, a little bit of probably black malt in there with a little bit of like more roasted character, not coffee or chocolate, more that little more dark black ash character. But there's quite a bit of sort of not quite a bit. There's a bit of sort of chocolate character coming through from some roasted malts. It's a nice beer. It's just I'm still not sold on the whole idea of wet hop.
Everyone makes a massive deal about
They
it.
do. The hop companies fucking send out
Go on about it.
emails.
People make it anything that's gonna differentiate their product from the flooded craft market. They're gonna rave on about. That's to be expected.
Actually,
That's business, baby.
now it's sat there
Get
and
used
warmed
to
up a touch. There is a real back palate bitterness to it. Not what I'd really expect a IPA bitterness to be. It's really back of the throat. So I retract my previous comment that there wasn't enough bitterness in it. So it's just a different kind of bitterness.
What's your rating out of 5?
I guess for what it is, 3.5.
Cool. Oh, I forgot to rate mine, so I'm giving mine a 3.75, just to piss Dan off.
Solid start to the night.
Tom?
There is
my
actually
turn.
quite a bit of
Oh.
bitterness there. Then now it's sat there for a couple of minutes. Yeah.
It just hit
So
me.
here's a quick question before we get into your beer. Sorry, Tom.
That's perfect. So I'm going to throw something out the door very quickly.
Okay, don't litter, bro. Dan, so
It's my house. I can do whatever I want.
He'll pick it up later.
I don't know. I think Emre would have something to say about that. Do you benefit from letting a black IPA warm up in the same way you would a typical dark beer, because it's actually the malt character that is warming up?
You'd probably hit a little bit of dangerous territory there. I would imagine. I don't do it too often with black IPAs. One, purely there just isn't enough black IPAs out there. I really enjoy them, but there isn't enough out there. Actually, I'm making one for our next limited run.
Preach. Amen. There are any brewer listening to this. Black IPA that shit up.
Definitely.
It's the time. Right now is the time.
Black beers matter. Sorry, Tom, I got to say something controversial. Every episode, sorry.
The malt character is definitely coming out more, but I think even with a standard black IPA, you would hit a territory where it would be a sweet spot between being too cold but then being too warm, where you would drink like a stout or a porter happily. Because the bitterness will really start to really come through once it
Hit
warms
hard.
more. The chocolate character is definitely coming out more as well, and that bitterness is ramping up. So you could potentially get
It'll cross a threshold where it's going to be too much at some point.
It's going to fall out of balance at some stage.
Yeah, cool.
But I guess it goes to the skill of the brewers brewing it too, whether they've taken that sort of thing into account.
Yeah, I'd be impressed if they took it into account that our drinkers are going to let this warm up enough. But yeah, no, it's just an interesting question. Tom?
Yes. I am drinking the Humpback Brewery First Calf Pale Ale.
Humpback brew. We've lost Peter.
Oh. Bye, Peter. This is a 4.9% little
Where are
baby.
they out of?
Now this...
Where are they
Sorry?
out of?
Oh, this is my favourite part of this brewery. There's a long-winded story that I'll cut down to size. But my mum, for years, used to holiday down in Tathra at the Sapphire Coast, New South Wales, so about 6 hours south from Sydney. And we always went there as kids. Mum had her 60th last week. We all went down there. All the kids came down. We rented a house, had a great old time. And then she's like, cool, we're going to go to the Tathra pub for dinner. And I was like, yeah, okay, sweet. She goes, oh, they've got a brewery, Tom. I was like, it's not big enough for a brewery, Mum. I'm sure maybe they've got some... I was like, oh, maybe she means they've got some, like, craft beers in there, because Mum just, usually goes, they've got a brewery.
Because
like,
mums are
they've
mums.
got some craft taps. These guys, the Tathra Hotel, so they got ravaged by the massive bushfires in, 2021, to the point where they're, like, the only bottle shop in the town burnt down, and they've since rebuilt it. And, like, because it's on a hill down to the beach, the fire literally just came over the hill and just, like, ravaged certain parts. It was like, they described it as rivers of fire going down the hill, and everyone had to get evacuated off the main beach. So they've come back and they ripped out the pokey room of the pub and put in a fucking nano brewery. And I'm just like,
Good job.
yeah, champions. And so we went to the pub for dinner, and it overlooks the cliffs, and this is where they call it Humpback, because that's where the humpbacks migrate. That's one of the first spots in New South Wales coast you can see them.
I didn't realise I was on mute, and I ruined my own perfectly timed joke, because you said it's Humpback Brewing, and Dan said, oh, where's that? And I said a couple of miles off the coast, and I just fucked my own joke because I was muted. But it's perfectly fine. Carry on.
That'll teach you to mute yourself. But yeah, so this is their first beer they made, so they started with a pale. I tried to talk to the guys behind the bar. They could give me rough things about the brewery, but they weren't as into it. I went in the next day to go buy some of the cans they had. So they've canned two of the beers they had on, which is the pale, and I've got the amber ale, which I'm having next. But the brewer wasn't there, so I couldn't ask him. I wanted to, just be like, hey, bro, fucking loved your beers. Their coffee porter was one of the best coffee porters I've had in a long time, and for a brewery that's only been operating for a short while, it's like pretty spectacular to have a quality beer of that quality. I think the way the lady was talking about it behind the bar, I think the guys worked at another brewery and then moved in the area and gone, yeah, sick, I'll start it with you. But yeah, if more pubs want to rip out their pokey rooms and put in breweries, I'm all for it because the pokies suck. Light them all on fire. Yeah, take that, New South Wales Gaming.
Unfortunately, they probably keep most clubs
They won't
afloat.
because they make too much money for them. But yeah, but it is a American-style pale. It's nice and got a nice amber hue to it. It's relatively clear, a little bit of fogginess to it, but nothing too much. It's tasting different in the can than it was off the tap. I had this as the first beer I've had. Yeah, I don't know if it was something that happened during the canning process. Like, it's not looking oxidized. It's not tasting that oxidized, but there might have been... I don't know who's canned it for them. I didn't see a canning line. I had a look into the glass window so I could have a look at what they had. The brewery they've got is no bigger than, say, small batch. So it's, probably 300 heck tanks and stuff. But yeah, it's a solid pale. It's a perfect starting point for their little session that you do there, because you sit on the grass, you overlook the cliffs. It's perfectly sunny weather. There's whales going by. But yeah, I give it. It's one of those weird ones. I give it a 4 for the beer, but they get that extra 0.5 for fucking off the pokies. That goes a long way to making me happy. But yeah, it's a solid American pale. They aren't really sending it up to Sydney yet, unfortunately. It'd be great, and I hope they succeed and go further, because yeah, they had this porter and this stout that were next level. The XBA was unfortunately Sabro at the time, so that was just coconut as all hell. They had an IPA, which I didn't try, but they had a good old school West Coast IPA that was dank and bitter. So from a really tiny, small brewery, they're making really quality beers. So if you're ever lucky enough to be down, around the Tathra Bega, Bateman's Bay area, go check them out. So yeah,
that's cool.
Well done. Cheers, Humpback. Thank you.
There's a few of those around. Because I remember I reviewed some. I think we reviewed in person some long stocking beers I picked up from Eden or Marimbula further down south, and that was another nano brewery in a pub that you would never think would have enough size.
I had a guy at the brewery talking about them today. He was like, "Man, you got to try it long stocking." I was like, "Yeah, dude, I did on the podcast." He's like, "Cool, I'll listen to it." And I was like, "Will you?"
I challenge thee.
Yeah. Throw out the gauntlet.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, all right. Should we dive into some news?
Please.
We interrupt this broadcast with some breaking news from the front.
Excellent. Well, the big one today for me is obviously the new Star Wars game that's been announced that they're in development. It comes from Amy Hennig, who was one of the chiefs on the Uncharted series. And her new studio, Skydance New Media, and this, which is the highlight for me, Lucasfilm Games, not EA, announced they're working on a new game together. They described it as a richly cinematic action-adventure with an original story set in the Star Wars galaxy.
So it sounds like she's gone back to what she was doing previously that got canned.
Yeah, because I think that would have been tied to EA wouldn't have had the rights to the story of that, because it's set in the Star Wars universe. It would be set to the Star Wars IP, so they would just been producing it. For those playing at home, Amy Hennig was developing a game with Respawn.
No, I think Respawn was a different one. It was an extra one.
Anyway, she was working on a single player or story action adventure game through EA with Lucasfilms, and it got shut down by EA because they didn't think that single player action adventure stories had the ability to sell.
Because it wasn't
And
another
then-
Battlefront ripoff. That's why they shut it down.
Yeah, and then some of the biggest games that have been released in the last 12 months have all been single-player action-adventure games.
Because we care about plot, people.
Yes. So it's really good that Amy's getting another, as Dan said, another bite at the apple or crack at the pie or some other I don't know, thing that Dan says.
Visceral,
I always thought it was a
Visceral
cherry.
games.
Visceral, that was it, yeah. Respawn was the one where we had like a trailer for it, and then it's also, I think, died, which is really... That was the one that he was going through what looked like Mos Espa. Knowing LucasArts, it's probably going to be set on Tatooine because they can't think of another planet to work around. That's my little dig at Star Wars. Come on, Disney. You got a whole galaxy out there. Go nuts.
They've fleshed
Yeah,
out
but
quite a
still-
lot of other planets over the years, too. I don't know why they keep sticking to those
Yeah.
games.
100%. So yeah, that's good. That's exciting. I just like, I know Pete, you didn't particularly enjoy the combat of Uncharted 1 when you were playing through it recently.
I hated it.
And yeah, I loved all the Uncharted games. They were, a modern day Indiana Jones kind of
but-
feel, and they were really
but
solid
at the
At the
stories.
time, sorry.
Yeah. I was just about to say the same thing. By the time you got to 3, 3 had some little wonky bits as well, in the combat, but that was where, all of them were tight for their time. And then by the time you get to 4, it's just this free-flowing, chaotic... It's
Polished.
It's kind of gone past the Indiana Jones point to the Mummy, what the fuck's it, the Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
It's gone to the Brendan Fraser level. By the time you get to 4, you've got this fucking rope grappling hook, and there's some arena. I'll call them arenas where you've got to take out the guys in this segment of the game, and it's all multi-leveled, just fucking cliffs and shit. And you can literally run, jump off the edge, throw the grappling hook, grab it, swing around like a cliff face, jump up, shoot the guys while you're in the air, land, roll into long grass, go sneak across to take out the next guy. You can make it such a fluid, fast-flowing combat. It got out of control, but out of control in a good way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just didn't take itself too seriously, is what I'm hearing.
No, and they were good, and I recommend them. I understand where you're coming from, Pete. Where it is really hard to go back to some of those really early PS3 games and try and play them now.
Was it PS3 or was it late PS2?
Yeah. No, it was a launch PS3 game, Uncharted 1. Well,
Wow.
maybe not launch, but soon after. But
It's aged badly because it could easily have passed as a PS2 game.
yeah. But that said, the story is still. That's the thing, and then that's what Amy was known for. She's one of the head writers for those studios.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, we'll move on to the next little bit. Bit of sad news. Actually, the next two bits are a bit of sad news. Witcher PS5, Xbox X for The Witcher 3. They've both been delayed indefinitely. Their release, the upgrade, due to multiple issues. But they
Some geopolitical.
yeah, yeah. Well, war does that to you. So, no, that Studio City Red took it back in house off a Russian studio they were working with, and then they've just taken off any timeline of that actually coming out. So,
Be
guess
a
we'll
lot
just
to
have
reassess there.
Yeah, and it's obviously they've got other things they want to work on, like Witcher 4. They've got the Cyberpunk DLC coming out next year, they reckon.
They've got to finish Cyberpunk, the original first.
No,
but
they've
anyway.
called it. They've called
So,
it.
yeah.
They've said they've said
really?
that when they released this, they
Batted out for 60. Fuck it, we're going
yeah.
home.
So they with this news, they actually released that that they had finished work on, and I say this in deep quotation marks, fixing Cyberpunk. And now it's on to the main
chef.
body of Cyberpunk is fixed or something like that was the terminology. They're moving on to the final lot of DLC for Cyberpunk, which they still haven't announced what that's going to even look like, whether it's a story that uses the main character, if it's something completely separate. They just they have not said whatsoever what that DLC is going to be. They said... The one thing they did say that there will be no less DLC for Cyberpunk than there was for Witcher 3, which is a big fucking call. Like,
Okay.
it's a
Big
massive,
statement,
massive
yeah.
call because, I mean,
It was a 50-hour DLC
Blood and-
for the
Blood and-
the final
Blood and Wine
installment.
could be
Yeah.
its own game. Like, it was fucking crazy. So,
Easily.
I don't know where they're going for that. I don't necessarily believe them on that. But whether they're going...
Yeah, they haven't announced means they haven't figured it
But
out.
whether they're going, hey, there'll be no less DLC, doesn't mean we're going to get the same content in that DLC. Like, the first...
No, it could just be three packs with 2
You
missions
get
in it.
one
Exactly.
story mission
It
and
could
one
well be.
car.
Well, the
Have fun.
first...
But here's multiplayer.
Oh,
Have
well,
fun.
they are talking about multiplayer, which I think they should just give up on. It was, that,
If your game's already broken, there's no chance it's going to survive
that's
multiplayer.
exactly it. I mean, pull that whole multiplayer idea and just, like, throw that time, effort, and money into the main game, or throw that effort
Witcher
behind
4.
or The Witcher 3, the one that just got cancelled. I know that was for a whole bunch of other reasons, but I have my doubts that the DLC for Cyberpunk is going to be anywhere in the same depth as The Witcher 3.
Well, I mean, it's still a shame, but it means now I've got more time to actually finally go back and replay Witcher 3.
I was waiting
PS4.
to play it on the 5, so I might just jump in and play it on the 4 again.
Twist that rubber arm if I have
exactly.
to. Oh,
Yeah.
dear.
Eighth
No,
time's a
please don't
charm,
make me
Dan.
play it again. Yeah. Moving right along, a little sad bit there, but Gilbert Gottfried, who we all know as Iago and Aladdin, amongst another of number of things, he passed away last week at 67. So
That's pretty
I
young
will
too.
never- Yeah, but a good run. I looked up his IMDb because I was just like, I know him from Aladdin, but what else has he been in?
He's a
And he
stand-up
just had-
comedian.
Yeah, but and as well, like what movies and TV shows he's in. He was in so much stuff. It's just like little things. It's like you're one of those guys who you don't really think about them, but they're the ones who keep all that industry rolling. You can't just have main actors. You always need those supporting ones. And he was just always there. He did little things like going back from like early 80s when he was in Beverly Hills Cop 2 up until
He was
couple
Abraham Lincoln in A Million Ways to Die.
Yeah,
in
he
the
was
West.
too.
yeah, like, but he's just had all these little things where he just popped in because he had such an
Yeah.
iconic voice. And
Yeah.
I still think his most memorable role will be that reading of 50 Shades of Grey, which will always haunt me until the day I die.
Is that a YouTube or a... Oh, have
We've
we?
talked about it on the podcast before, but it was like later into an episode, and I tried to do a rendition of it, and it still haunts me. I haunt myself now, trying to imitate Gilbert Gottfried reading 50 Shades of Grey. Tell you what, if you ever need a contraceptive, hit me up, and I'll help you out there.
Tom the Prophylactic. That's going to be
Yeah.
Tom's first project beer. There you go, mate. I've named it for you. Tom the Prophylactic.
Oh dear, and it's just me with like morphed into Iago the bird's face, just going, "Hey, don't drink." I'm not going to even do it right now. I can't do it. I'm too emotional. Anyway. So yes, Gilbert Gottfried, thank you for everything you did, and rest in peace. You'll always be remembered as a very, very entertaining and funny man. Moving on to happier things, Unreal Engine 5 officially released, sent out into the wide, wide world. For anyone who managed to play that Matrix Awakens demo, I didn't. I watched videos of someone pretending to be Superman in it, rather than actually download and play it. But it's the next stage of a lot of our like big games we're excited for. Witcher 4 is going to be developed in that engine rather than their in-house. And looking at some of the video for that tech demo they did, it was breathtaking. It was
So I think
absolutely superb.
I think I mentioned to you guys. It was on the back of your conversation, Tom. So the props are yours. But you know, because I've been with the whole drawing for the podcast thing. I've been working on a side project forever, and I don't think it's ever going to get off the ground because the tech, between the tech and my skills in art, I don't think we're going to get there. But I've always had this dream of just like 2-minute skits with our fucking podcast characters as segments in this podcast show. It was kind of the break. because there's so many great skits that I can come up with, and I haven't even asked you guys. So I'm sure you have equally, if you thought about it, would have equally an equal number of great ideas for a Dan Kratos.
You heard my intro, right? Like, I worked on that for an hour.
a Dan Kratos, a Tom Cap, and a Pete Ezio. Those three characters interacting, I think, would be fucking hilarious because of the personalities in them. But so I started looking at, okay, so I know the Unreal Engine, and I know like Machinima and is a well-developed subgenre of movies and TV. How far has this come, and how easy is it to build a character in one of these engines and then animate them as a cartoon? And the first thing that came up was Unreal 4.6 or 4.7, and then I watched a 25-minute YouTube video introducing the Unreal 5 engine, and that they've shifted their focus away from making games. It's no longer a game engine. It's an animation engine, and people will use it for games, but it's now a fully fledged cinematography platform that just happens to be able to dump out to games. So it's not even this is a side thing that you could do. This is the core premise of the platform. Multiple cameras, repeating animations, scripted, mo-capped, keyframed, whatever you want to fucking do. It's like a full-blown animation studio like Blender or Maya or Lightwave or, those sorts of things. And it's fucking amazing what it does in real time. Like the quality.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they talked about in that like kind of release tech demo video thing they did, their little presentation. But they did focus on that. They were like, animation studios are using this now. Like, people are using this for movies. Like, you watch that Matrix demo, and it's like, it's pretty close. Yeah. Like, they're getting ever closer. Like, I think it's exciting. I can't wait. Obviously, it probably won't start impacting the games we're playing for another
couple of years,
2 years, a couple of that. Like,
because you got to think anything.
The idea of The Witcher 4 on that, like. That's exciting.
Anything that we've kind of heard being announced this year or next, because most of the things that we'll play next year have already been announced for this year, but will get delayed because that's just how the fucking industry seems to work these days.
That is what's happening. Yes.
You'd have to be starting to build a game now to be talking about using that engine because it's so new.
Star Wars game. Zoom, zoom, zoom.
The other
Falcon.
The other one that I would love to see, well, if they ever make another one in the Unreal 5, would be another Batman game. Like the lighting and the rain and everything that they did with
the gloom and the atmospheric effects.
In Arkham Knight, like that game's absolutely fucking beautiful as it is. Imagine just like it just dialed up to 11 with the Unreal and just like that
being photorealistic.
Exactly,
basically.
being photorealistic and just having like all of that hyper realistic Tim Burton-esque Gotham with all the neon and the water, and like every one of those water drops that fell on Batman traced its own path, like it ran like a proper water droplet, and that's now a 5-year-old game.
Yeah.
And it's like this is the technology for this is going to blow the previous one out of the water. It's just it's super exciting.
But if you add that,
I think the bet.
Sorry,
you go, Pete.
I was just going to say, conceptually, if you like moving away back to movies from games, if you add that to the concept of the volume and then deep fake, between those three technologies alone, you don't need actors anymore. The Unreal Engine 5 is pretty fucking close to photorealistic when they put effort into it.
Because you still need someone to deliver the lines and actually,
and the facial
we'll get into this in the Batman.
Okay. Yeah. All right. We'll park that then. I think it's cool.
I was just going to say, going off Dan's thing about the Arkham Knight, is that the only thing that Arkham Knight really suffered from, for me, was the emptiness of the city. Because, except for the occasional, dude running around robbing a store or that no one was in, but like, you could then do that as a Gotham that's populated. Like,
but that's got less to do with the engine and more to do with the scripting, right? You can.
But I think that was a deliberate decision of the scripting because of the engine. Yeah, but imagine using that Matrix Awakens demo for a Gotham when it's like people are just driving through and as we'll get into in the Batman.
strongly
you
disagree.
Get to do that kind of Batman chase where it's like it's more populated. There's more things on the road, but yeah.
I agree with your vision. I disagree that they didn't do that as a limitation of the engine. If you consider that going all the way back to, say, Grand Theft Auto 3, that was full of people doing random, stupid, crazy-ass shit that you didn't necessarily have to interact with. So, and Cyberpunk, I mean, you've said a few times, Dan, I mean, that's certainly a current, like a modern-day engine capable of, fully scripting pathed characters doing background shit, and they didn't bother.
Yeah, not only did they not bother,
yeah, but I'm saying I would like to.
They might have had the intention at some stage to do it, but yeah. There's some creepy characters walking around those streets, man.
That's the thing. There's not enough creepy characters who are walking around Arkham Knight.
I think it is partly to do with scripting as well. That like you couldn't barrel that tank of a Batmobile down the streets of Gotham with pedestrians everywhere, and I mean they
That's cool.
It's not GTA
the driving
6.
mechanics weren't tight enough on it to do that. So.
That was always your complaint about that game too, was that the driving mechanics were
Man,
floaty like a boat.
once you stop trying to drive it like a car and drive it like the like fucking Christian Bale drives the
Like a speedboat.
Yeah, like he
Like a
drives
tank?
the tumbler. Just fucking take out those walls, man. Take out the corner of a wall. Use it to bounce you back on course. Once you started driving like that,
Yeah.
100%.
no problem. Yeah,
So
You
it's
were
like
playing
a
Gran Turismo.
demo
you were playing
derby.
Need for Speed. You were playing Need for Justice. Vengeance.
Oh, I got weird shivers in a semi. You were going to talk about a board game for the first time in forever, Dan.
that was not so
Yes,
much
Dan.
in news. I was going to throw it into like more of a no. Just me and Louise have. Well, I'll
come
just
back
drop
to
it
it.
in here. I'll come back to it when we've finished Gloomhaven, where I don't even know how far through we are. We're playing Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion, which is basically Gloomhaven Light. So you get should I start from the start? Gloomhaven is an enormous box of
In the
stuff.
beginning.
Like, it is huge. Like, and everything in it is sealed. So you pick the class of character you want to play, and you don't actually know the race or anything of the creature that is going to be your character, or the abilities it has until you've picked that class, because the boxes are sealed with like a sticker that's a fake wax seal, and then you break that wax seal and you take out your mini and you take out all your little bits and pieces, and that is your character. Of course, you can fucking cheat and open them all, but where's the fun in that?
Yeah.
And then as you progress through the game in Gloomhaven, there's a whole bunch of extra sealed boxes and sealed files that when you get to a certain point in the game, it says open box number A. And you do that. So it's a massive game, and it's a massive undertaking to play Gloomhaven. So then a couple of years after that, they released a game called Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion. There's no tiles for the play map or anything like that. It's all in a book, in an A4 book, a very high quality print. It gives you the rules and the flavor text for each map as you open the page, as you get to it. You lay the book out. There's a supplement book as well. So if the maps go larger than the 2-page A4 pages, the supplement book will have the extra piece of the map that you lay down, line up. So it's all very easy to sort of whip out and play, have set up ready to play in sort of 20 minutes. So we're playing that because it doesn't take up as much room as the big one. You can sort of jump in and jump out without having to remember how to lay tiles down and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
This is just you and Louise.
And it's a really interesting combat move system. You don't have dice. You have a set of cards in your hand. The cards are divided into 2 segments. You play 2 cards each round, and you have to play the top of one card and the bottom of the other card. And you have to play the top of one and the bottom of the other. It doesn't matter which one you might go in with a plan, and then somebody else might get a lower initiative than you, go first and completely destroy your idea. So then you can, if you want to switch the top and bottom of the cards you were going to use and do them in whatever order you want, you can go for it. So it's a really good mechanic of a game. There's 4 little sealed boxes, which I'm sure hold minis, and they've just got a letter on them and a little wax seal, and you're not allowed to open them until the game actually tells you to open them. I'm fucking dying to open them and see what's actually in there.
That's really cool. Just that little bit of unwrapping pleasure while you and discovery and mystery
unwrapping
and shit.
pleasure. So it loads you up. I don't know whether we're going to open all 4 at once or whether we're going to open one and then like 4 or 5 game hours later open another.
I guess
when you open all 4 at once, do you get to then whisper?
Yeah, maybe.
It's interesting. I guess it does remove that element if you go back and replay the game with other people.
You can't
later,
replay the game because, well, you can replay the game, but there's limited... so we just passed a mission, which was our first branching mission. So it was our first choice, go to A or go to B. So we chose one to go to, and then at the end of that one, there was a little bit of flavor text that said, oh, hey, shit, you didn't do this one, so this happened over here while you were off doing B.
So
well,
you know the
not
outcome
really,
of
because
both.
it would have been... I'm sure it would have been different. Like, if we'd gone to A, which was a warehouse somewhere, B was...
It would have just wrapped A version of B
and
in the instructions for A.
I'm sure it probably would have played out in a similar way, but whether it's the same map that you go to next or whatever. But you've got a map of the city that's gridded out. It's a quite nice little drawn map, and you've got stickers of the area that the missions happen. And when you put the sticker over the area, it changes the layout of the building. So, like if something happens there that like a building gets destroyed or something, it'll look built on the map, and then when you put the sticker over it, it's then destroyed, or there'll be boats missing. If something was on a boat, the boat will no longer be in the harbour. So you've got this. By the time you finish the game, you've got this like map of your adventure and I guess the trail of destruction or whatever you've left through the area once you've done. It's a little D&D light. Obviously, you don't have that ability to make those out there wild decisions that you could, like your creative decisions that you come up. You've got to follow within the rules of the game.
Yeah.
But there's enough little flavor in the abilities and the conditions that you can put on characters and the environments that you can like have a little bit of extra fun with it, which is pretty cool. So it's very in depth. There's a lot happening a lot of the time. But once you kind of get your head around it and you can kind of continue, like we've played 3 games in the last sort of 3 weeks. So we played one the other night where we're not like, oh, fuck, we didn't do that. And so it's those sort of things. And there's a lot of extra bits and pieces that go with it. There's like little side stories from when you go to mission, like Pete said, downtime stuff. There's that stuff when you go to mission, and there's
I only said that stuff to you in a private channel.
That's why I said it. Yeah, so so it's very interesting, and if you've got time, I guess lockdowns are over, so it probably would have been better to have
for now.
So, I mean, people are still spending time at home. It's a good long weekend game where you can put it on the table and lay it out, and then
Oh, it's good just to do sometimes, man. We don't. I mean, it's the same with Lego, right? We particularly us three, is so wrapped up in video games and technology for various functions in our life and our work. It's really good just to sit down and do something tactile. And to do that, with your mates or with your wife, there's lots of ways to spend quality time. But I still think, I don't think we spend enough time playing board games and doing that.
Yeah, definitely agree. Definitely agree. But I mean, it
has
has been hampered. But I mean, I guess it was a little bit before that. But yeah, I mean, there's some bigger board games that I think we need to look at. I mean, I know we're all a little time poor, but in the future, maybe.
No, we're doing D&D. That's like a 2-year commitment. I've got some. Actually, we haven't talked about fucking board games in this podcast forever. We used to talk about it as in the intro as one of the things we covered, and we stopped covering it. And now we've got 2 pieces in the same app. So, Dungeons and Dragons, the digital tool set.
I was going to say that's not the next piece of information.
Is D&D. No, it's not. Is D&D Beyond.
Peter's lying again.
No, I'm just injecting new content. So D&D Beyond is the digital toolset to play the Dungeons & Dragons tabletop role-playing game. Ironically, it's never been owned by Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro, who actually owns Wizards of the Coast. They've actually just bought it. So this is a digital tool set for your iPhone, for the iPad, and for the PC, where you can buy virtual editions of all of the rules for the tabletop RPG game. You can create characters and then use the app to actually play the tabletop game instead of using a pen and paper or a pencil and paper like you used to. You don't even need fucking dice anymore. You can use the app for that as well. And you can buy different virtual dice that look different the way that you could buy physical dice in the old days. So this is a fully featured and integral part of playing traditional D&D with your mates around a table. And they only just bought it. It's just mind-blowing to me that your game has such a fundamental piece of technology that helps make the game run smoothly, and you never fucking owned it.
It's so well laid out too. Like,
so,
if you like, I was looking through the books that obviously writing the campaign, and you get to like everything in the main campaign books. You get to a point and it'll reference something, and there's links all over the page as you go through, and like you need to know the stats on the monster that's coming up. You click on that fucking link. It opens the monster manual in a new tab. It doesn't fucking throw you off the page you're on. It literally, they've thought ahead and they've gone, no, these fuckers don't want to lose their page. I'm going to open a new tab for them.
It's the same on the iPad and the iPhone, by the way. It doesn't open new tabs, but you can hit back and it'll take you straight back to the point we were at. So you can open up the monster, and then the monster can cast a spell. You click on the spell, and it says, it might make a reference in the spell content to a foundational game mechanic, and you can click on that, and it'll bring you up the basic game rules, and then you can go all the way back. It's a brilliant tool. So Hasbro just spent $150 million in cash to buy the whole platform from Fandom, who owned it before or have been running it. Interestingly, Wizards of the Coast have been licensing their core content. The whole engine's built around licensed content from Hasbro. So there's always been an indirect price control, but there is a lot of concern amongst fans that these fuckers charge $55 to $65 per physical book. We've been paying like $25 to $30 per virtual book through Fandom. Are we now going to have to pay $55, $60 for the virtual edition now that they fucking own it? And you can bet your bottom dollar. I don't know if it'll go all the way up, but it's definitely going up.
Watch this space. So,
anyway, there's an interesting... Yeah, there's a second piece of tabletop news. Sorry, I wouldn't have even thought about it if you hadn't brought up Gloomhaven. I'm really excited about this next one, and I'll make it really quick. Stephen Moffat is returning to Doctor Who. So...
I think it's a great thing. I'm with you, Pete.
Yeah,
so Doctor Who haters.
2005 relaunched the whole Doctor Who thing. Russell T Davies was the primary writer for the series. He went all the way through Chris Eccleston and Dave Tennant. Dave Tennant, arguably the best Doctor actor who's played the Doctor. It's between him and Matt Smith for most people, I think. So Russell T Davies left the show at the end of David Tennant, and Stephen Moffat was always a writer during Russell T Davies' time, but he became showrunner.
All I see you here, Pete, is the guy from Always Sunny in Philadelphia with his fucking crazy red string board up on the wall, trying to fucking link it all. Anyway.
I don't get the reference to that particular show. Yeah. Is it a TV series or a movie? I don't know.
It's a TV series.
TV series. Yep. But that's been done on all those serial murder
have you seen the one
mystery
in Happy?
Things.
Sorry. That brought back,
anyway.
no pun intended, happy memories because
Happy memories for Dan.
he walks
Very
in and
happy
it's
memories.
the fucking red strings all across. Like it's not just on the walls; it's like this wall to the back wall, and he walks through and he ducks through and he's like, "This is the best crazy person room I've ever been in."
I don't know what you're talking about, but it does remind me of something I've seen. So.
I got him. Don't worry. I got
Sorry,
him. Okay, I'll
continue.
So anyway, Stephen Moffat left the show when it started tanking. And, you know, you could argue today that Doctor Who's a shadow of what it was 5 years ago. And I think
it's a hard
I would
argument
definitely
to
say.
make.
As soon as Peter Capaldi went in, no.
No, not really.
So Chris Chisnell's the current showrunner. He was a writer while after Moffat took over from Davies. He's now the showrunner. He's leaving along with Jodie Whittaker this year. And Moffat said that he's stepping back in. So I am super fucking excited because Moffat was one of those writers who made the series good when it was good. I don't think Jodie, and I think I've said this before when we were talking to Ben from Bar 89, Jodie Whittaker is a fucking, like a consummate actor, right? She knows how to act, but she she's been shit as the Doctor, and I actually don't think that's because of her. I think that's because of the script. That's the writing. So
I agree with Pete on that one.
It's unfortunate that Jodie, the very first female Doctor, got a bad writing spell
It's bad scripts, yeah.
going to reflect on her inevitably, unfortunately. I don't think the first female Doctor got a fair go at it. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's my news. I'm really excited about Moffat coming back.
And what do we take from that? It's that when you bring a Moff back in, your Death Star gets back on track, and then it fires when ready. That's a weird crossover that I want to see. Imagine that. Imagine the TARDIS appearing in the Death Star 1. Ooh, hello. Anyway.
I'm sure there's
That's
a
Tom.
meme video somewhere, man.
No, that's just a fever dream that Tom's had.
Rule 34 of the internet.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Dan, you'll be excited about this
Yep.
one. Love, Death and Robots Season 3 is out May 20th. They announced that today. That is fresh. Hot off the
Man, there
press.
was some
news.
Hot off the
You're welcome.
press. I can't believe... Sorry. No. I was going to change the
there
subject.
was
You
some
go.
seriously fucking dark shit in season 2 of Love, Death and Robots. There was there was one episode that really stuck out that had like the fingermen from V for Vendetta that were like, you weren't allowed to breed without a license or something like that. So they would hunt down the families and execute, or no, they would arrest the parents and execute the children. Yeah, it was fucking
Wow,
dark.
that is dark.
And
Having said that, right
Yeah,
up until
I mean-
you explain the punishment, I can think of several subpopulations in this country alone where it should be illegal to breed. But anyway.
Okay. Anyway, speaking of
You
not
guys
breeding,
have to deal with
Hayden
more mouth
Christensen
breathers
is,
than I do.
I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. Or a 3-foot lightsaber. Hayden Christensen is said that he's using the Clone Wars and Rebels iteration of Anakin and Vader to help his prep for returning as Vader and Obi-Wan, which is a month and a week away.
was
I
next
think
year.
he would be better off investing what little...
No.
No,
it's a
no,
month
it's-
and a week away.
Yeah. I think he'd be better off investing his time taking a couple of acting classes, just quietly.
that's unfair.
Well, I think that's what he's doing. I think
Unfair
that's what he's
criticism
doing.
there.
Mannequin Skywalker.
Another happy landing. Sorry, I've just been playing Lego Star Wars, and I'm in episode 3 right now. It's great. It's so good. I love it. But yes, he
You
is
don't want
coming
so
back
many death
for
sticks.
Anakin and as Obi-Wan's relationship. He's actually, and they're right. Dave Filoni's writing on Clone Wars and Rebels really built up the whole Anakin and Obi-Wan relationship
fuck
and
yeah, it
made
did.
the whole betrayal.
It made it make
better.
sense what we saw in the
Yeah.
3 movies.
Yeah. So I think it's a great idea. I think good on him, and it's just making those shows. Hopefully, more people go. And if you haven't seen
More
Rebels, go and
accessible.
watch their.
Yeah.
Well, go and watch the especially Rebels and where they bring Vader and Ahsoka in. Like it's pretty savage that Sith holocron fight is. It's.
I haven't
tugs on the
started
old
Rebels. I'm up
heartstrings,
to
yeah.
it though. Finally.
Oh, wait! You started watching Rebels? Oh,
No. I haven't finished. Sorry, I haven't started Rebels. I finished Clone Wars. What I was thinking in my head with that last statement I erroneously made.
Okay,
was,
so you
and then the
finished-
Bad Batch.
you finally
So I've got
finished
Rebels
Clone
and the
Wars.
Bad
Okay.
Batch. Yes,
How
I finished
sick was
Clone Wars.
the alternate
Yeah.
view
Only
on
took
Order
me-
66?
Yeah, fuck yeah. Yeah, there were so many good sequences in the last 2 seasons. To be honest, I should have just skipped the first 5. I mean, there's some good lead in and some relationship exploration there, and you wouldn't know who everyone was, but all the good stuff.
I can't go much higher than that, so please stop.
The episodes that started with the Dark Sisters on
Dathomir.
what's the name of the planet we explored in Dathomir.
Night
That was
Sisters.
where it started getting good for me.
The Night Sisters. Yeah.
Night Sisters, and then you've got Darth Maul coming back, and his brother, and the corruption and of that whole process. That's where it really got good for me. There was a shitload of filler episodes before that. There were a few after.
Oh, I agree. The first 2 seasons are far too childish before they realised their actual audience was
a
grown
lot.
men.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, what I was going to say before, when you just started talking about Love, Death and Robots, I just think it's funny that I said I went back through 2 weeks of fucking headlines in comic book movies and Kotaku, and I just didn't see much that jumped out that was interesting in terms of news. And we're an hour in. I'm about to say let's go for a quick break because I need to grab my other beer.
Well, I'm just
we're
about to
finished
finish my
fucking
second
news.
beer, so...
Oh Jesus! Oh Jesus!
Well, we can talk about our second beer, and then it actually works because I think we've got the next couple of little things we've got to talk about. And that's probably my fault because I didn't realise that Dan's board game thing was not a... I thought it was one of his board games that he bought back in 1962 and invested in, and then they finally started making
those haven't turned up, Tom.
Hero Quest
Still,
25th
and they're not going
anniversary.
to.
Yeah, the Hero Quest.
Well, that's
Yeah,
why I thought. That's why I
no.
thought it was a bit of news because I thought it was an update because you were just like all you wrote was like Bloodhaven
Board game
update or whatever it was.
Yeah, no.
yeah, Gloomhaven. Sorry,
they're definitely gonna deliver the 25th anniversary edition of Heroes Quest on its 50th anniversary. That's my prediction. All right, I'm going to go grab another beer. I'll be back in 3 minutes.
Oh,
Well, Dan,
Okay.
you can
Feed
start
the
talking about
cats.
your beer.
Yeah,
Okay,
start
cool.
talking about your beers.
Tom, when we were out for
Yes.
Ben's birthday, they tapped the Ocean Reach Hazy IPA later in the night. Did you have...
Probably one of the many.
No.
No, they didn't have Ocean Reach on when I was there.
Oh,
I
okay.
left when they tapped the Co-Conspirators Stout.
Yeah,
Next
so
that
they
and ran out the
tapped
door, as you
that
saw.
sort of 3/4 of the way through the night. And I hadn't had much Ocean Reach, but I'd heard good things about them. So, yeah, so I grabbed that, and I grabbed it for
they're good.
Jason too because he hadn't had it. And Mixtape Brewing and Bar in Marrickville. We'll give
That's
them a
where we
shout
were.
out.
Yep.
So I went to grab my beers this afternoon at Quaker Cellars and was looking at their fridge, and I'm like, fuck, I've had most of these on the podcast. Like, there was a lot. Like, the fridges were full, but it's like I didn't want to get the 14.5% barrel-aged barley wines from Bacchus. And then all the Garage Project ones and that I'd had. So I grabbed the Bridge Road ones, and I'm like... And then I always turn around and see what like the standard beers are in the fridge behind, like that's the fridge where the Akasha beers are. So they've always got like one new one or one or two new ones and that.
Yep.
Turn around, the whole fucking top shelf is Ocean Reach. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake! So I've already got 3 or 4 that I hadn't had before from the main craft fridge. So all I grabbed was I just grabbed the bog standard Ocean Reach IPA and their pale ale. So this is the Ocean Reach. Oh, it's too glary. No, it's the Ocean Reach.
Vader, you cannot see that.
6.4%. It's just it's.
It's like a matte,
Yeah,
is that what, like
kind
a
of
mauve can? Is
mauve-ish.
that
Yeah,
mauve? Is that
definitely.
the colour we're going for?
I can't even. Oh, wait a minute. Let me.
Oh, that's puce. If you go on your...
Yeah. So
there we go. Yeah, yep, you can see it now.
Yeah,
that's purple.
A little bit light. Yeah, no, it's pretty light. Very light. So
It's a very light
I
purple.
grabbed this and their pale ale. So this is a. Oh, that really does cut down my my screen glare, doesn't it? When I do that, it's a West Coast IPA in colour. It probably doesn't have the bitterness of a West Coast IPA. I would say it's like high end American pale. rather than like into the IPA territory. I know
Yeah,
it's IPA by ABV, but probably not by hop content or even by malt content. I think it's a really nice beer. I think it's a really nice American pale. I disagree that it should be in the IPA other than the alcohol level. But yeah, I think it's nice. It's not super hoppy or anything like that, but it's kind of what I wanted tonight. I didn't want to grab... I actually had their Hazy in my hand, and I'm like, no. I'm going to grab the West Coast. You're being attacked, are you? Nah.
There's a mosquito and I'm gonna
it's
fucking
nice.
kill it. Bastard. Yeah, good. Well, I've jumped into the second beer I got from Humpback. They only had 2 beers in cans, otherwise I would have had to... I didn't have a growler with me. This is their melon-headed amber ale. It is 4.8%. And they have a nice little dig. They say this is named after a species of whale and also sunburnt tourists. Haha, got them. And it's just a classic amber. Look at this malty goodness. Oh,
What was it called, sorry?
This is the melon-headed amber ale. Like when you get a burnt dome.
Yes, got it.
And yeah, so 4.8% Peter. They don't say what they use in it. They just obviously use a bunch of caramel. They say rich and
Super
bready
amber, isn't
malt
it?
flavors. But this is the one I haven't tried, but I was glad this was the other one. They had it on tap, but I saw it in the cans, and so I skipped it to go get
I love
something
how
else.
you've
that was
gone
on
to
tap.
smell it and you've stuck your whole mo in the foam. Belgium.
It's a Belgian dip. That's how we do it in Belgium. That is a pure classic amber ale. That is great. That is exactly on point. It is a nice little hit of that rich caramel malt smoothness. There's a little bit of like a piney hop note. You'd probably say. But at 4.8, you could sit on that. You could happily sit on that in the beer garden and just throw a couple back and enjoy your holiday. That is, for something, I'm right on the brewers at Batch at the moment we have our Elsie and I love Elsie to death. It was more of my, the water content in my body at one point was more Elsie than water and blood.
Water.
It was midwinter. It was great. But we recently did a beer festival and people kept coming to us, oh, you got Elsie. Oh, you got Elsie. Like, you got something dark. And I was like, no, we don't. And I was just like, boys, if we you keep making this lovely Schwartz beer over at Small Batch, but can we scale that up and just have a core release, just a dark lager that is, that 4.5% kind of range, something in there. Because sometimes you want a dark that's not going to knock your socks off, and you just want something a bit more
And you're right.
rich and roasty and malty.
There's the percentage of imperial darks to non-imperials pretty fucking high.
Yeah. So this definitely
Out of 5?
that's a solid 4. That is a solid 4. That is a beautiful amber. Well done. Yep.
Nice.
Beautiful and classic and just on point. When they just make a classic 2 recipe on point beer. It's nothing special. It's nothing blowing your mind out of the water, but it just ticks every box it needs to. That is that beer.
And
well done.
because I was away, can you recap quickly for me, Dan?
Clear off the screen
did
again.
you have,
Ocean
mate?
Reach, 6.4% IPA. I don't think
And
it's
how
quite
was
an IPA, but it's a very nice American pale ale.
Okay.
3. Here you
out
go,
of
just for
5?
you, Pete. 3.75.
Ooh, fancy.
Cool.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Sorry, I'm just waiting for the fucking helicopter to go over.
I was about to say, who's got the Channel 7 copter going overhead?
That would be me. It's the Careflight helicopter landing at RNS. My second beer is no surprises because I did say this at the start. Another one drop. This is the Plum Sour, 3.4%. Lovely can art. Plum. And it is a
Nice plums, Pete.
Thanks, mate. Just couldn't let that slide, could you?
I could not.
Oh God, it smells good. I love plum flavor. It's it just reminds me of bubble gum. I don't know because I don't know why. Hubba Bubba Fucking the dark purple chewing gum when we were kids growing up.
I have
No
had
bells
it, and
ringing
I
for anyone?
fucking hated Hubba Bubba.
It was my favourite flavour, and this
Wasn't
beer.
allowed chewing gum as a child. If I was caught chewing, I was told I looked like a cow, and I was beaten with a cattle prod.
Okay, probably not the most effective use of a cattle prod.
Pete likes
but-
it on
Oh,
his
no, it
balls
worked.
anyway, so
Didn't touch gum.
Didn't touch gum.
the cattle prod.
The cattle prod or
Hence
gum?
the plum flavour.
I'm glad you went to the same place there, Tom. To smother it in plum jam.
Oh dear.
The beer, though, it's not bad.
If you have any complaints, please reach out to
Admin.
Peter at...
Yeah, admin at Pixels and
No,
Pies.
we're throwing him in the deep end now.
No, it's great, mate. Mates, it tastes and smells like the chewing gum.
Do they say what...
Which is awesome.
And this is a serious question. Do they say what plums they use?
Blood plums. Yeah. I can almost... It's a Berliner Weiss base. I suspect it's exactly the same base as the strawberry hibiscus I just had, because it has the same level of acidity and sourness to it. Heavy in malted wheat and barley, along with a novel blend of 2 different bacteria, a unique yeast strain, and a West Scandinavian kvike. Is the K silent
I
there?
don't
Is it
think
just
K's
vike
silent.
or is it quake?
Tom? No?
Okay. Definitely.
I always... What was it? Yeah, it's Kvike. Or, yeah, something like that. I don't know. It's been debated since they first discovered this in the Highlands. Everyone's just like, Kvik, Kvike, Vike, like, Quike. I think Quike, yeah, Quike, because it... But I think someone was saying that because they thought it was quick.
Right. Okay.
And I was like, are you just
It's definitely
not
gonna-
understanding the language?
It's
Yeah.
the quick yeast.
Yeah, it's that quick yeast. Yeah, yeah,
quick
quite.
yeast.
Yeah, yeah. Use it, kid.
Expect gentle fruit and berry tartness backed up with a sweet, full, fresh plum spinning finish. I would have to give that a 4.5. That's and at 3.4%. You could knock back plenty of those. Your stomach lining would eat itself away from the acidity well before you were drunk. So that's a cracker of a sour, and well, Berliner Weiss. We'll call it a Berliner Weiss. It's great. I can tell Dan just muted.
You don't need to
that
hear me
background
burp,
hiss
so
has
I
disappeared.
might do the fucking polite thing and mute
No,
it.
definitely not.
I mean, I do.
I wasn't having a go. I was just... I was, but more about the hiss. What are we talking about now, ladies?
Do we want to have a little super quick one before we go to break? I've got a super quick little 5-minute one.
Sure, do
It's a
it.
tech review, Peter.
Holy
It's a tech
shit.
review.
Strap in,
I
fellas.
bought some new headphones.
Did you put them on the right way around?
Well, yes, I did. But only because they're molded like ear ones. So I always used for the cellar, I had some noise-cancelling sport earphones. They were Jaybirds. They had a lovely little cord around the neck. And it was great because you take one out, pop it down, wasn't worried I was going to lose my little earpod. Especially when I'm throwing kegs around and talking to randoms on the street
Yeah.
and doing all kind of stuff at the pub. Unfortunately, every brand stopped making them in favour of pure wireless earbuds. And that was annoying at first because mine had just died. They lasted bang on 2 years, which was their warranty, and
Planned
then they just
obsolescence.
conked out and stopped staying
Always the way.
connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the tech,
So
tech value of bell curve, right? It's if tech's going to fuck
100%.
up,
It was
it's
like
either,
literally, I looked at the receipt and it was like 2 days after the 2
Yeah,
years.
it's-
And I was like,
it's
you
that bell
fuckers.
curve of failure. It's always
Yeah.
within 2 days of opening the package, or it's going to be 2 days after the warranty expires.
So yeah, these ones had served me well. Like they obviously got me through a bunch of my cellar shifts, which the boys know are big long days of lugging around kegs and need some strong music for that. And they sat really nicely in my ears. But I've finally gone for the full wireless options. I went for a little brand which I found they're based in Brisbane, I'm pretty sure, and they're called Mifo, which stands for Make It. Well, you probably can't see it, but Make It Fully Optimal.
Hey.
Is that gonna? There it is. That's their little tagline, and that's the little buds. They're standard little things. I've had to play around with them a couple of days. They have a little touch sensitivity on the ear, so tap once for volume up on the right, tap down once on the left for volume down, double tap for. Yeah, well, Mr. Analog over here, so he's got to wind up his earphones to start them. Yeah. They're good. They're just my only thing has been they came with so many different options of little rubber earbud in-piece sizes. So it's taken me a couple of days to find ones that are optimal fit, but then also are providing enough of that seal for the cancelling of outside noise, so that I'm not completely deaf to the outside world. I'm not walking around.
Does it not have real-time transparency?
I don't know. I'm just playing with them still. The box they came with. There's a bunch of QR codes I could probably scan to find this stuff out, but I haven't done that yet.
RTFM, brother. So like audio transparency is quite common in those noise cancelling headphones now, where you can. They probably do, uses but the I think microphone for outside, and it bleeds a little bit of amplified outside noise inside.
It does do that. Yeah.
To stop you from getting
the
run
only
over
downside
in
I've
Sydney.
had with these ones. Well, yeah, they've been great, and they've been great for walking to work. I've always had a bit of problem with in-ear earphones of like if I'm walking along and like if I'm walking back from work and having a roadie or like having a snack, like eating something, like chewing, they will pop out. Like they can't sit in my ears. That was the great thing about the last ones I had. They had those the full ear mold in the rubber, so it kind of went through the whole curve of your ear, so they sat perfectly. These ones haven't been sitting so great, but I think I've found the sweet spot now with the size I'm using. But the sound quality's been great. They've passed every test. They've passed the John Williams test, which is always a big one for me. They've passed the Doom test, and they stay up to that. And then they've passed, the old dad rock test. So they're like the spectrum of noise going from classical to metal to like classic dad rock. Like they're performing well across all things.
Did you do the shout test?
Haven't done the shout test.
I got so sick of hearing that every time I could go out and spend, and I literally did at one stage, spend $8,000 on a pair of fucking audiophile quality speakers, and all I got from Chris was, yeah, but does it play all of the bass response from shout? Who did shout? Was it Disturbed?
No idea.
The metal song? And then I got a lecture about sub-fucking bass. Anyway, carry on.
Unnecessary testing there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Christopher. They do obviously connect to my phone, so they do calls and all audio. The call quality is just as good as holding the phone to my ear. And people say I sound fine on that. But sorry, Jasper is whining at the door. I might have to let him in a second. But yeah, they're solid. They're obviously I got them. I did a bit of research around true wireless headphones. I didn't want to get some Galaxy buds. I didn't want Apple ones because I have a Samsung phone. These were the best priced version for being able to be used across multiple devices. And they're solid. Come with a little charging case that's been 4 days now, and I've only just had to charge them, and I've been using them for half an hour walks three times a day.
That's not bad. It's not bad at all.
Yeah. If you're looking for a solid little case, also the case, that's hefty. I could kill a man with that. If I threw it hard enough, I could kill a man.
And that is, by the way, the empirical test for whether or not a case is hefty enough.
Yeah. The charger obviously also does double up as I can use it to charge my phone. If it's got enough charge in it, I can plug the cord in and plug it into my phone if I'm running out of battery. So that's useful.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little company from Brisbane and solid ones. So if you're looking for a new pair of headphones and you don't want to go with one of the big boys, give them a look. I got these on special as well, though. So they were originally $200. I got them for $120.
Yeah, cool.
And that came with charging case and all cords and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. There's my little tech review for something unique and different that we don't do enough of.
Yeah, well, it's true. But no one wants to hear me drone on about tech, and I could fill whole episodes with that shit. And it was actually Shock by Fear Factory was the track that he always used to use as the test.
There we go.
Like 15 hertz, sub. Makes you, if it doesn't make your stomach squirm, you're not hearing the full track. Oh.
Isn't that is it like the guys who play metal to their beer to help it ferment? Like they just
put it in a watertight bag
to their fermenter tanks. Yeah.
I forget who did it. Someone did it.
Yeah.
It might have been
Then
Garage
see how your beer
Project.
turns out. Yeah, I remember.
It
that.
wasn't
It was a
Garage
fun
Project?
article.
Yeah, I'll have to find it.
It wasn't Garage Project. Nah. I thought it was
I don't know. I'll
Tool who did it.
yeah, I knew what
But
you
I don't
meant.
think they
Yeah,
used Tool.
Yeah.
I think that was like, everyone was like,
Yep.
you missed an opportunity there. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
There we go. Little tech review.
Sweet. Thanks for that, Tom. Tom's tech review.
My pleasure.
I think we'll,
That's not going to be a recurring subject at all.
there's only so many headphones a man can buy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Should we take a quick break?
Before you hit record on the next
Let's take
segment,
a quick
I'll
break.
tell
I'm gonna
you
go check
my
on my
tech
dog.
review, but it's not suitable for air.
That's right. So what are we talking about now?
Aren't we on to
Welcome
the
back, everybody.
And we're back.
It's like, what the fuck are we doing again? Why are we here? Three of
Where
us,
have I
three separate.
been
What
for the
the
last
fuck?
3 hours?
Yeah.
I have to ask myself
It's the
that
hangover.
question.
That's the COVID hangover, Pete.
It wasn't some weird headphone bid, you dick. I wasn't trying to get free stuff.
What?
I think it's one of you has put in a note. Tom's tech review, some weird headphone bid thing /
it
shrug.
was- sorry, it should have said Bud. Because I didn't catch the name of them. I'm going to have to go back and listen to it again.
Mifo.
We'll see. Maybe
Mifo.
I'm going to have to go back and listen to it for the first time because I wasn't listening the first time, obviously.
Yeah, that's fair enough, buddy. I'm going to bring in a new section, which I think could be regular and a bit of fun. And I'm very proud of the name that I given this one.
Oh,
Are you
that
winning,
was
son?
super unattractive, Pete. Super unattractive.
I wasn't
Big
trying to
long
attract
lick
you.
up the side of a fucking 440ml can. Recenter yourself, Tom. Recenter and start
I can help
again.
you find your fourth chakra, Tom. With
Okay.
my lens.
I am one with the Force, and the Force is with me. Anyway, Are You Winning, Sean? Is going to be our new current gaming roundup. I think it's going to be a fun little regular section. So I ask you, Dan, are you winning, son?
I am winning.
With a fucking fat stogie coming out of the corner of my mouth as well. It has to be. Like,
Oh, the pipe. The pipe. It was
Yeah,
the pipe in
pipe
the
would be
picture
good,
that you sent
yeah.
through, wasn't it?
are you winning, Sean?
Am I winning, son? Yes, I'm winning, son. I'm playing Ghost of Tsushima Iki Island.
Yes.
And
Talk us
it's
through that, because I still haven't had a chance to get around to that.
it's fantastic. It's different enough from the it's obviously the same game, but you get to Iki Island after you finish the main quest, and it's a
Do you have to go after the main quest? Or
I
can you?
I don't
deviate?
know. I don't know whether the dialogue has changed because I have finished, or whether it would be different whether I was partway through the game or not. I cannot answer that for you. Sorry. There's characters there that appear in the main game. I've only come across one so far. You go across to Iki Island, which is basically the smuggler's island off the coast of Tsushima, where the Sakai clan quelled a rebellion at some stage. So the smugglers are quite against the samurai and definitely the Sakai family. And Jin then encounters the Eagle tribe, the Mongols that are the Eagle tribe, led by a shaman, a female shaman, and it goes quite supernatural from very early on in the whole story, and that supernatural element continues through a lot of the side missions, and elements of it can just hit you in the world. You might hit a point where it activates something, and you'll go into this. I don't want to give too much away, but you go into this altered world kind of thing. You're still on the island, you're still doing what you're doing, but things happen around you. A voice comes into your head and talks to you about things, and it's interesting. It's a new element in something that's so familiar from going through the main story. Iki is visually the same as Tsushima. It's got some slight different elements to the environment, and the missions are similar. but different enough. You have a whole new minigame element where you go to animal shrines and you have to use the motion control sensor to play your flute. You've got to keep the marker within the lines. It's not hard. It's super easy.
This reminds me of power play golf or whatever it's called. You got to hit the mouse. And
But it's
How big is Iki Island compared to Tsushima? Like one of the thirds, less than one of the thirds. You know, it's kind of broken into three.
I can't remember what the second tooth. So if I go by it's probably a half of the first island.
Okay.
Yeah, so big enough, but there's like I've only uncovered a tiny amount of it. And I've probably played it for 5 or 6 hours, so I could have run around the entire map and opened it up. But the little quests and side quests and rumor quests that it opens up are super interesting. There's a lot more supernatural elements. You fight one of the swordsmen in one of the duels at the time on Iki, and he's blind. He actually wears a rag around his eyes, and he sees through other means. I'm not going to spoil what those other means are. And then when you get it, you get a suit of armor that is a supernatural suit of armor. It is actually possessed by a Japanese demonic spirit, and it gives you a certain. There's a buff to the suit, but it's a buff, and then there's a negative to it as well. So there's some give and take in there, and it's a fucking cool suit of armor, and whole little mission was a really cool little fucking side mission, and very supernatural compared to how grounded the main story is.
See?
yeah, right.
That's
cool.
me.
No, I definitely need to get into it, and I've just been so many other games coming out that I need to go back and do little things like that. Like,
Don't get fooled by me and end up paying for it twice. So
well, that was always the confusing thing with the Tsushima upgrade for PS5. There were like 18 different options you could get.
Yeah.
So you just need to buy the PS5 upgrade. So I bought the PS4 Director's Cut because I thought that was the Iki Island expansion, and then I found out that wasn't the PS5 upgrade. And then you buy the PS5 upgrade, and it comes with the Director's Cut and the Iki Island upgrade.
Yeah.
It was really poorly worded. So
Yes.
Yep.
I'm sure they didn't intend that either.
no, absolutely not. I have much respect for Sucker Punch. I've really enjoyed their games, and I think this introduction of this Ghost of Tsushima is going to be a big thing for them, just like Infamous was. But that pissed me off a little bit. But you know what? I don't mind. I mean, I've already gotten my money's worth out of Iki. If they get an extra $25 out of me, which is what they got, that's fine. I'm more than happy to pay.
At least it wasn't
all
a full AAA title price, right?
Yeah, well, no, I guess it wasn't. It was $25 for the director's cut, and then it was another $15 for the PS5 upgrade. So, it wasn't. It was fine. It was fine. I don't mind paying that for that.
And they've obviously put the work into it that, you know.
Exactly.
To earn the money.
Yeah. It's well worth diving back into Ghost of Tsushima to play that. I think it's a wonderful, for such a calming game. It's fucking violent, but it's a super calming way just to get out there and slice up some dudes that are just dicks.
Are you playing it the same way you played?
100%.
Yeah, noble.
Yep. I can't do it.
Just walking in, samurai
Don't give me the option to do, like, even when it wants you to do ghost missions, like,
I didn't give you any options. I'm just ripping into you for yours.
Like the last one I played the other day, it so wanted you to do this, like this little fort that they'd build. After I cleared it all out, I walked around it, and there was so many extra like grappling points and that. You can now grapple off and swing under things. So you can grab from a ledge, grapple, like I was talking about Uncharted, and you can swing down and under and get yourself some momentum to sort of get away from people.
It's a good way to pop your shoulder out, but yeah, okay.
Don't give me the standoff option. If you want me to do it as a ghost mission, don't let me walk through the fucking main gate and hit that standoff button, because I'm going to do it.
Yeah, you know, that's because you're doing it because as soon as you walk through that standoff, there's that little triple
Yep.
like noise in the music, and he just goes, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, Dan's on here. Dan is on.
Yep, 100%.
Peter, are you winning, son?
No.
This is great. This is my new favourite.
Just for the voiceover. No, I'm not. I'm not winning at the moment. I finished. I hit the platinum for Horizon Forbidden West about a week and a half ago. Just as my COVID isolation started. Badly timed. Would have been good if I'd had that game all the way through ISO, but and that was the last thing I played. I've got to say, it was a thoroughly satisfying game, start to finish. There were some things about it that, you know, like every open world game, some things got a little bit long in the tooth towards the end, but overall, like the flight mechanics with the shield wing, the flying mount that you get right at the end.
Right at the end.
Yeah.
Like, what? 2 missions before? But
you
finale?
get that's balls.
But you understand very quickly once you get it why it would have broken the game.
There's going to be spoilers here, people. So, Pete, I think you can let loose, because if I'm going to play this, I'm not going to play it for a long time. And if I ever play it. So.
There's no need to spoil the core storyline, to be honest.
Oh, no, I meant more about the flying mount, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. I felt
well,
that
the
was
game kind of spoils it like a good 20 hours before you get the mount. There's certain missions where they're like, you need to be able to fly. And I'm like, well, what? I can't fly.
Yeah.
I'm like, can't you? Can't you?
Yeah.
Not yet, Sonny Jim.
I fell a little bit further for that than you did, Tom. I went and started, what do you call it, where you overtake them?
You were trying to,
And anything
I did the same
with
thing.
fucking wings, I just started converting to my side to see if they were a mount, but they weren't.
Yeah.
But you do realise very quickly after getting the flying mount why you only get it right at the end. It breaks the game. There's no longer any challenge of having to cross the plains and explore the landscape to get to your mission point. You just fly over it all. And you can still interact very quickly, and that is why I do like the mechanics that they built in. Even for the flying mount itself, when you jump off the flying mount, even if you jump off at a great height and glide down, as soon as you hit the ground, your flying mount starts hovering in a circle above your drop point, and there's a grapple point built into it. So getting back to your mount, instantaneous. There's no fucking around. No, I just found the game thoroughly satisfying in terms of the core storyline. And I think I said this to Tom towards the end. I think I was a mission or two behind before finishing. If they wrote the first 2 games, and there is a third game, so it was written as a trilogy, the core storyline. If someone sat down and wrote those 3 games as a novel, it'd be a best-selling science fiction novel. The inventiveness and creativeness to get that storyline to where it got to by the end of the second game, it is honestly inventive as hell. Yeah, it's a MacGuffin-based story, and it's a typical complex MacGuffin. The character's not just chasing one thing; they're chasing 7 separate parts of the one thing. But the twists and turns, I didn't expect the twist ending. I didn't expect the lead into the third game.
I think that's what we said. You were like, how far into it are you? And I was just like, you know how we talked about the inevitable twist? Just fucking hit, didn't it? Like, one time just texting you about playing it, and it was just like, yeah, you know, we knew it was coming. You never know when, and it
didn't
did
know
actually
what.
hit me. And it hit me at the wrong point. I was like, I thought where it was going to hit, it wasn't, and then it did, and I was like, you fuckers. Well done, Guerrilla Games.
Yeah.
You really gave me a gorilla attack. That one.
And what they did with Silence, I thought that was quite well written as well. And I'm not saying
he's a
well
voiced character. The dude who does his voice is...
You've seen him before in movies, man.
A bunch of things, yeah. I know.
He's instantly recognisable.
Hypnotic voices.
You know what? You know who isn't recognisable is the actress who voices Aloy.
Aloy, yeah, 100%.
She's the only
seeing her
character
in-
in that game that if you look at the actor who voices them and compare it to the in-game character, it's not like obviously they've modeled the in-game character to be a perfect replica. With the exception of Aloy. Aloy is voiced by the same woman who does Tiny Tina from Borderlands 3. She also plays in Mythic Quest, which is an Apple TV exclusive like comedy.
Yeah, she plays one of the testers.
She's so fucking funny. In fact, that whole series is hilarious as hell.
It is very funny, yeah.
Wasn't she one of them? She wasn't the main female.
She was one of the two VMA.
Yeah, no. I've moved on to another game. Wasn't she wasn't in Last of Us, was she?
No, she wasn't Ellie.
Who voices Ellie? Oh no, that's the chick who's in Critical Role. Sorry, my bad. Yeah. Ashley Johnson. My bad. They're probably the two most famous voice actors at the moment for playing female characters. I've got to say, between Ashley and this lady, I should look up a name now. But no, thoroughly enjoyable.
Also, the guy who voices Silence, for those playing at home, is the guy who is the concierge dude in John Wick.
Yes.
As soon as you said concierge and a silky voice, I'm gone. I bet it's fucking John Wick.
Yeah. Ashley
I'm not
Birch.
even going to attempt to do his voice because I don't have a tongue made of silk. It will not work.
And Ashley Birch.
He's brilliant.
Sorry,
Ashley Birch
is the voice of Aloy.
Ashley Birch. Yeah, I know that name.
Yeah, which is why I got it confused with the voice actress from Last of Us, because it's another Ashley. Just a very different Ashley. Anyway. So I'm not playing anything at the moment.
Tom, are you winning, son?
Oh, thanks, Dad, for asking. That's really nice. Yeah, Dad, I am fucking winning. You know why? It's Lego Star Wars, baby. That's what I'm into right now. I'm a 12-year-old kid again, and I'm loving it. It is... I've obviously talked about the amount... I love the Lego games. I think they're super inventive. I think they're super funny in the way they... For years, they didn't use the voice actors, which is a point I'll quickly come back to. And so they did everything through mumbles. And seeing Darth Vader hold up a photo of a Lego pregnant Padme pointing to the belly and then pointing to Luke to do the I am your father scene had me in stitches when it first came out. I was like, that's fucking genius. Like, they think of the ways, like, to get across the main story in a really inventive way. It's mime. It's not using word. And that makes it so much more difficult to get a story across. From... Which one was it? There was... I think it was Lego Lord of the Rings onwards. Maybe not, actually. There was one onwards where they actually got the rights to use... Well, they paid more money to use the voice lines. I think it might have been Lord of the Rings. I'll have to look it up and find out.
It was Lego Batman 2, DC Superheroes.
It was the first one they... Yeah, well, they definitely had it in that one, yeah. And then the Lego Marvel games, they had it. But they also used different voice actors. But then I think it was the Lego Avengers game. They just used clips from the movies and used it at appropriate times. In this one, it's obviously fully voice acted. There is a cheat option to just go back to mumble mode, which is activated from the start. You don't have to find that little cheat code. You can just go straight back to mumbles. The thing that... So I've gone in episode 1, because you play 1 through 9. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
And, you know, walking through the first mission, it's Qui-Gon Obi-Wan on the Droid Federation ship. You actually... Instead of going... So I don't know if you guys... Did you guys play the original ones?
Yep.
Pete did? So it used to be... You started in a hub world, so you had...
Yeah.
It was usually Tatooine. So you usually started in Mos Eisley. And then you'd go in the cantina and you go to a door. It would open up and you'd select mission 1.1. And that'd be the first one. And then there'd be a cutscene and you'd dive right into the action. This one, they've changed it. So it's opening crawl and then it's a little cutscene of you as Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan on the Republic cruiser. And then all of a sudden you're in control of the Republic cruiser and you've got to fly through Naboo's space to the thing. So instantly you're like, oh shit, this is a lot more open than any of the other ones have been. The disappointing thing is they didn't use the voice scenes from the movies, but the cool thing they've done is they've used all the dudes from the Clone Wars series voices.
Ah, nice.
Which I think is actually a really
neatly.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're only focusing on the 9 movies. So, but they're like, at first I was like, that's not Liam Neeson's voice. And, occasionally he'll say something along the lines, he'll be running along and he'll be doing something, and he goes, yes, I have a certain set of skills for this kind of thing. And you're like, nice taken reference. It's the guy who does the voice of Admiral Yularen, who does all the intros for the Clone Wars episodes. It's his voice. But then Obi-Wan is voiced by the guy who voices Obi-Wan in the show. Anakin's the same thing. Darth Maul is Sam Witwer, who was The Force Unleashed and all that kind of stuff. And he's been in a bunch of Star Wars stuff.
Yeah, he has.
And it's close enough that it doesn't need to be. But, like, I guess I was kind of expecting it to be straight rips from the movies. But that means they've actually recorded extra voice lines to, like, add certain things.
Yep.
It is brilliant. It is a great way to do it. They've finally added a camera. A fully controllable camera, so you're not stuck at one certain view and have to try and pan up to see where the secrets are.
Yeah.
You go to every single hub world. So in the first 3 episodes, I'm currently I'm in Utapau City, just running around, myself and Obi-Wan. I'm as Obi-Wan, and I've got Cody with me, and we're trying to find little secrets and do all these kind of things and get the little pickups and ships and stuff. And then, but I had to fully explore Coruscant and Naboo. Went from Naboo, you go from Theed City, you go into the Gungan City, Tatooine, you go from Mos Eisley to Mos Espa, and I'm sure I'll go to other spots in it. In fact, I did. I went to the Jundland Wastes, and I stood over as Anakin. I stood in the Tusken Raider camp. Just was like, I'm going to kill you. You killed my mum. And I hate sand. There's so many sand jokes as Anakin.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of ridiculous. They play on all the jokes. And they've changed the combat as well. It's no longer just hit square a bunch of times to swing your lightsaber. You get more studs for doing different combos. So, swing the lightsaber, then force push someone, then counter someone else, then lightsaber throw, then...
So
block.
it rewards a bit of versatility and
it's not just hit that a bunch of times. The shooting mechanic, you actually go into a which they started to do in some of the older games. They build in like a cover-based shooting thing, and you get points for if you shoot at the head or you shoot at the arm, and you can shoot the stormtroopers' helmets off and all that kind of stuff. And they built multiple parts into the levels, so it's no longer just go point A to point B.
Yeah, it was very
do the boss
linear
fight
on rails.
Yeah, now it's like you can go left or right. It doesn't matter. But if you go left, you have to come back, and so you can go right to get the full, find the secrets. You're collecting Kyber bricks now, which unlock, there's a kind of RPG element to it, which is great. So you build up the skills of core skills, but then everyone's divided into classes. So Jedi, hero, villain, dark side, scoundrels, scavengers. There's one other. Heroes can access hero terminals, villains can access villain terminals, all that kind of stuff. Astromechs can go in certain points. Protocol droids can split in half to get into small little crawl areas. And then, so your body can go in, then your legs go in after you, and then you can actually fight between your body and your legs, which is kind of fun sometimes. The only thing is, I think they've missed a few spots with a few characters. So, I haven't unlocked them yet, but apparently Ewoks are the only ones who can shoot this net gun, and they have the glider option, which you need for certain puzzles and stuff. And they're the main scavenger class, which obviously you won't unlock until episode 6. But I'd be surely Anakin as a child would be a scavenger an Ewok would. He'd go around and do that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's super fun. It's a great step forward for what ultimately was becoming a carbon copy, just a different skin.
Yeah.
I've played all the Lego ones, the Harry Potters. I've got Jurassic Park. I've got The Hobbit unplayed, but I've played Lord of the Rings, all the Star Wars ones previously. And it was the same kind of thing. You had a long-range guy, a melee guy.
It was getting formulaic.
It was super formulaic, but it worked because it was humorous at the same time. They were always enjoyable.
And the secrets were always gated which was my complaint
Yeah.
about like games like God of War, where you've got to go all the way back to the starting sections to unlock all the secrets.
They've added in a space combat now, so that's kind of fun. Driving around last night in my Jedi Interceptor, just blasting droids was super satisfying, especially when everything's Lego and making the little Lego noises and stuff. But yeah, it's a fantastic revamp of what was getting a pretty stale series. So I'm looking forward to the next couple of weeks that I get to enjoy that. But yes, I am winning, son. It's Lego Star Wars, baby. Also, it looks beautiful. Like, it's all made of Lego, but like,
Oh, they've always
They're
done
not
a
just- they're not-
fantastic job of it.
they're not just little little hubs. They're like proper sized maps, like running. Like, and I've only discovered a quarter of the galaxy so far.
Yeah, wow.
So you get a whole galaxy map where you get to go to every single planet. That even if they like go, you know, Obi-Wan was on there for a day. It's like, better go run around there for like 8 hours. It's like, okay, if I have to. And they're full. They're fully lived in. Like, you know, you don't really interact with the NPCs, but at least they feel like there's people constantly around in bustling city areas that you expect. The right kind of alien species are in the right kind of areas, which I think is a very important thing for a game like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Or based
It's all
on
about
something
the
like Star
details.
Wars. Yeah, and like for instance, I'm running around, like I was running around the Junlan Wastes, and you come up on the Beggar's Canyon turn, and there's a little pod race going. Like that's like a thought that no one would ever like think to really throw in, but these guys have. They're like, it's a real love letter to Star Wars. So don't care if you're a 80-year-old bloke or a 12-year-old kid, just you love Star Wars, get in there and play it. Highly
Do
recommend.
you think they will release something like Rogue One as a DLC?
So I currently have, it's just character packs, but I've got Mando Season 1, Rogue One, and classic characters released last night. And there was one other one that I had.
These are assumedly they're paid DLCs.
I got the deluxe, I got the Steelbook edition, so it came free. But yeah, it's just character packs. So like I've got Mando, and he runs around with little Baby Yoda in the capsule. And if you try and shoot Baby Yoda, his little capsule closes. Never quick enough. I'm always like, right there. But
That's
yeah,
cool.
It's great, and it's just, you know, it's simple fun, but it's still like there's still some pretty challenging puzzles to like be like, fuck, how am I getting up there? And then it's like after a little bit, you're like, oh, I know how a Lego game works. I need to do this, I need to do that. But then they've tried to flip things on the head. Using of force powers is a lot more fluid, which is good because they were sometimes
Bit clunky.
pretty annoying in how janky they were when you're trying to move something with, you know, force or magic power or whatever, depending what universe it was in. The only complaint I would have is I might need to change the sensitivity settings on my controller, but the blaster fire system is not as, it's like you go to move and it goes whoa, and you're like whoa, like it just might be a
Bit too
sensitivity
sensitive.
thing.
Yeah, too
Yeah,
sensitive.
but otherwise it's fantastic, and it's like, yeah, it's a multifaceted, fully fleshed out game, and it was delayed, and that was fine because they obviously put so much work into it, and it's a real love letter, love letter. Not the best faithful adaptation of the story, though. I will say there are a little few
That's
embellishments.
okay. That's new content to explore. I don't
Well,
think
yeah, it's like when you slice Darth Maul in half, he starts coming back as like the Black Knight from Monty Python, where it's just his head with the lightsaber in his teeth. Like,
it's just a
coming
flat.
out. Yeah, it's just funny stuff though. Like, yeah, it's all humorous, but yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, can't wait to play more.
Cool.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Third
I'm going to
beers.
get it at some stage.
Yeah, do so good.
I'm going to jump in quick because I'm going to go and pee and grab my next beer because I'm almost done this one. So I grabbed the Bridge Road.
2011.
2011?
Is that the
No,
No, it's
it's the
the
freshest
Bridge
fresh.
Road
Oh, Hazy
Garage.
Harvest.
Oh, no, this one's Mountain Culture. So it's Bridge Road, and Mountain Culture is the normal IPA. This is the fresh hop IPA from the collaboration there. I didn't actually realise this one was Mountain Culture. I enjoy this one much better. The hop expression in this is a lot more. The balance of it is a lot better, and it doesn't quite have it doesn't have that overpowering vegetal wet hop. I said dry hop before. I meant wet hop. Vegetal character from the wet hop. So I am enjoying this much better. It's now that I know it's mountain culture, I understand why it doesn't have the bitterness that it should have for an IPA. But it's nice. It is a very good beer. I poured it, and it's about, I don't know, like 40 centimeters away from me, and I could smell the hop character as I poured it. So
Yeah, wow.
it's much more pungent than the black IPA. But I did very much enjoy the black IPA. It hasn't fully changed my opinion on wet hop beers, but if more came out like this, it would be definitely on the path to changing my opinion.
Would you... sorry, I'm not sure if you just said this. I zoned out for a second. I was thinking about Lego Star Wars. It happens now. I'll just be talking to people and be like, oh, that's how I get that secret. It literally was just one of those moments. Being a black IPA, what if it was like a West Coast versus like a NEPA? Do you think it would have changed the expression of that hop profile and made your opinion different?
If the black IPA was different? Or if this one
the black IPA, say like a West Coast.
Well, see, I don't know.
In terms of like,
I should
you
try
cracking
and read
that
the
and
side
saying,
of the fucking can. This hazy IPA. Okay, so the black IPA probably says something. When I go pee, I will go read what IPA style it falls in. It didn't hit West Coast IPA marks for like hop expression. Even at the bitterness level, I still think, even though the bitterness was coming out more, I think it was a little bit more of a green bitterness. It's that fresh beer, fresh hop beer, back of the throat stuff. It wasn't a well-rounded, isomerized, alpha acid, smooth bitterness. But don't get me wrong, it was a very nice beer, but it didn't hit all my marks for a black IPA, and that's me being pedantic and picky. But that's what this game is all about, isn't it?
Out of 5, Hazy Harvest?
This one was pretty good. I'd probably give this one a 4, especially for
Cool.
a fresh hop IPA. It's definitely the best fresh hop IPA I've ever had. But because it's only one out of many, 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 many bad ones, it's not going to sway my opinion yet.
Got it.
I'll be back.
Cool. Tomo, what are you drinking, mate?
I am having part 1 of 2 beers tonight that I've done for my last 2. They are both Hawke's beers. It's their Alter Ego range. They've got a West Coast and an East Coast IPA, and they're both using the Talus hop.
Okay.
So it's a single hop series divided into 2. It's pretty cool little can out there.
Which one are you having to start with, mate?
I'm starting with the West Coast.
West Coast, cool.
It is 6. I think they're both 6.5%. So they say, yeah, it's most people when they do a single hop series, they tend to do just the same beer style, different hop.
Yeah.
So like the Deeds one, for example, is always it's just a single hop expression of standard IPA. From memory. Don't quote me on that one. Sorry, Deeds, if I fucked that up. I love your beers. But this one, I think is a really cool idea to it. It's coast v coast, so two styles that people have loved for a long time.
Yeah.
But just using the same hop, just changing up the other products in there. Talus is a relatively new hop. I think we only really saw it for the first time in the last year. My big memory of it, like first appearing, was Akasha did a Talus IPA, and then I'm pretty sure that Beer Cartel did a Talus pack. They've done a few of these like hop packs. They did the Loop Max one recently, but they did a Talus pack, and
Okay.
I remember because I remember Batch doing a small Talus release. But the big one I remember, because the can art just drew me in. It was Akasha beer in their new branding, Talus IPA, and it was just like hop cones on the can. It was simple but nice enough. Like it really drew the eye. this is kind of like to show the difference. So that's the West Coast, which I'm currently drinking, and then the East Coast has kind of inverse colors.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it's also kind of like nice reflective colors of, you know, the West Coast usually being a darker hue, and then the East Coast usually bright and yellow. We will see when I crack that in a little bit. It is a classic West Coast. There's some delicious piney notes. You get in that little bit kind of I guess vegetal kind of notes from the Talus hop. I've only had a couple of beers with that, so I'm not sure if that is the flavor I should be getting. They put on a little 5-star scale on the back of the can of hops versus malt versus yeast, and it's 5 out of 5 hops, 2 out of 5 malt, and 1 out of 5 yeast. And you can tell because it's a really fresh, dank hit of hops in the face. And I'd give it a solid 4. And I'm excited to taste its. Yeah, well, it's alter ego. It's living up to the name. So I'm excited to have the East next. But yeah, that's my beer.
Sweet. I'm punching commentary and reviews directly into Untapped now because I have to go back and re-listen to 4 hours of the last episode to do that for the last episode. So I am drinking the Karnival from One Drop Brewing. This is the Garden Brewery, which I'm assuming is probably like a nano brewery adjunct to the main brewery or something. I don't know.
Oh, Garden Brewing. They're from Eastern Europe.
It's a collab.
Is it the Garden Brewery?
Yes, the Garden Brewery.
Yeah, they're from somewhere in Europe. I'll look it up for you.
It's all right. It's coming up on the screen now. It's an Imperial Goza with blueberry and watermelon at 7.2%. Although
they're Croatian, if it's the Garden Brewery.
It is the Garden Brewery, I can confirm. Yeah. Imperial Goza style with copious additions of fresh watermelon juice, blueberry juice, sea salt, and whole blueberries added wherever we could fit them. Fermented out with a hazy strain, expect a subtle tartness, a balancing salinity, and a big fresh and fruity hit. Brewed in collaboration with our pals at the Garden Brewery, Croatia, in celebration of their 5th birthday. Zivjeli? I've probably ruined that, so I'm sure it's a Croatian word. As for the beer, it's got a really weird funkiness to the nose. Not an unpleasant one. It's almost you can't really describe a Goza as dank, I don't think. I don't know. But that's kind of what I get out of it. It's got a funkiness, a pleasant funkiness to it, but it's not a farmhouse style. Like if you were to look at like a Belgian yeast in a sour, you'd get a real farmhouse sour note to it. It's not like that. Maybe it's just the watermelon and blueberry. It has a solid watermelon base flavor with just a touch of the extra sweetness you get out of the blueberries. It's too sweet for it to be just watermelon because it's quite a soft sweetness in watermelon. Lovely color too.
Nice color. Yeah.
It does look like watermelon juice almost. It's got that pinkish tinge to it. Tasty.
What did you say? What style did you say it was? Sorry?
Bit different. It's a Goza.
It's called
It is surprisingly sweet. It's obviously a sour base. I'm actually quite amazed at how much sugar they've got in that for a sour beer. It's almost too sweet. It has been sitting here for a little while, but I strongly suspect that's all blueberry fructose. Anyway.
I mean, that sounds like One Drop. They love to fruit the shit out of their beers, let's be honest.
I'm going to give that...
When I was saying you needed to pour one of your One Drop beers through a strainer because there was that much like fruit pulp left
which is my fourth and
like,
final, yeah.
Yeah.
The only negative I'll give it is because of my stomach acid tonight. I had chili for dinner and then I've had 3 fucking sours and I'm struggling right now.
Really good idea, Pete.
Yeah, I didn't think about it. So fuck off, Dan.
Well, that's one way to bring back the taste and the smell, isn't it?
I'll tell you one thing. At 7.2%, you get no alcohol. And it's to me, I'm impressed that they've managed to hide 7.2% ABV in a sour. Because all of the usual places that you would hide that real strong alcohol note, the burning sensation, all the rest of it, in a strong malt backbone or like a really hoppy, juicy flavour. You don't get any of that in a Goza. There's nowhere for it to hide, but it doesn't taste boozy at all. So I'm going to give that a solid 4.5 because it does exactly what it says it should on the can. It is a blueberry watermelon Goza, and it's... I'm only going to be able to drink half of it. That's my one drawback. I don't think it's going to keep in the fridge overnight somehow.
I would
No, they never do they? The old big cans, yeah.
That is all.
Right, what are we moving on
Is
to?
all. Are we doing the Batman?
Do you want to do Batman, or do you want to do? Well, do you want to do? Because I can sit on this beer, and then we can do a shorter midsection, then and come back for a third. Sorry, how many sections have we done? I don't know. And we do a quick trailer trash because we got. Yeah.
Do you want? Let's do a quick trailer trash, and then we shall take a break to discuss, so that our poor listeners don't have to listen to us live.
I think it's better. We don't want to rush the Batman and not do it justice because I think it's nice.
Not do it justice.
Give yourself an uppercut.
Vengeance. It's vengeance. Daniel.
Yeah, I know.
Two new trailers for me that stood out. Obviously, the new Thor.
Is this on the run sheet, or am I missing?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay.
It's on the run sheet.
Okay, yep.
You've been doing that whole Danielson, Mr. Miyagi fucking chopsticks.
There's a lot of
fly.
Aussies in my house. I cleaned up the garden yesterday. I aggravated a nest, and we're fighting. It's full on war, and I'm winning.
What does a mosquito nest look like precisely?
It's a pool of water inside a palm frond. Let me tell you.
Pool of water somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. I found the pool of water and I destroyed it, and now they're angry. Let me tell you, it's on.
It's on.
Yes, Thor: Love and Thunder. Taika Waititi has a field day. I think we should subtext this film.
Taika Waititi gets a blank check.
It's so fucking good, that trailer. Look, I cannot wait for that movie.
It just looks so fun. It just
and the last Thor was the last Thor was exactly like
Ragnarok,
that as well.
It was super fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was just.
But it's Taika and Chris Hemsworth playing off Chris Hemsworth's ability. He's been played as such a serious, no fun dude for the so many films, and it's Chris Hemsworth is actually one of the funnier blokes we've got on the rolling Marvel cast. Let's let him play, and he does, and it's a blowout movie. It's it blew them out of the water. So Tigers obviously realizes this because it's a Kiwi and Aussie bloke having the time of their lives. Playing around with funny costumes and throwing shit at each other,
and you can't.
It looks super fun.
You can't go past, and this has a point for the current movie. But if you go back to Thor Ragnarok, a lot of Chris's comedies playing off Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner, or Hulk, more accurately. And I think that's
or Korg when he played off. Korg
absolutely
in the bits,
towards the third
Piss
of
off
the movie.
Ghost. Still my favorite.
You made a rocks unless you made a scissors. Don't worry about it.
Little rock paper and scissors joke for you.
It's good to see that he's now playing off characters like the full crew from Guardians of the Galaxy. You saw that in the trailer, and you can see a lot of comedy back and forward there. That's going to happen, and he's back in. What's the rock guy's name? Fuck, my brain shut down for the night. I'm out.
I actually, you
Taika,
say that?
cool.
I actually thought that that Hemsworth with the Guardians was a little stilted in Infinity War. I hope that they've melded a little bit better. I think the Kiwi
I laughed
Aussie
my fucking ass off in those scenes, Dan. Particularly when they would do. Are you trying to do his voice?
No, see,
this is how I always sound. I laughed my ass off.
Oh no, I thought that was fucking terrible. I thought it was absolutely shocking. I thought the interaction between Korg and Thor was much more natural than Thor and Star-Lord. I really felt that Pratt was. I guess we understand the Aussie humour side of it much more, even though Hemsworth is playing a Norse who's with an English accent who's really playing an American with an English. Anyway, there's lots of layers there. But I thought that whole Star-Lord versus Thor was really, really stilted and didn't actually work very well at all.
Okay.
It was my least favourite part of that entire movie.
I don't know. I agree. I can see both sides of it. I can see parts of it where I thought it was stilted, but there were definitely parts of it where it worked. I think they played some of those jokes a little too long, maybe. But I thought the initial quips were really, really sharp and quite back and forth that worked for me. But
I actually felt
they
felt right to me in terms of both characters' psyches. You've got Thor.
They definitely work in terms of the characters. Like Star-Lord
Thor's always joked around in the Avengers that he's the toughest Avenger and he's the strongest Avenger. Those jokes have been playing out since the first Avengers movie. And then you've got Star-Lord, who's always about ego and has been in his 2 movies, Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
Ego, because that was his dad.
So to have those two clash the way they did and the quips and the interaction, I thought was actually on point for those two characters.
I'm not saying it wasn't on point for
I thought
the
that point in the trailer where he was like,
wasn't
look at the people you love, and then Thor's just like staring into his eyes, and they just move heads together.
He's like, I didn't mean me.
Yeah.
He's like, oh,
Yeah,
I was just thinking about, what did he say? I'm just listening to you.
Yeah. I think the best thing about it is they're obviously having fun with the character, but then they're diving deep into the mythology. Like, he's got...
Yeah.
What are the goats' names? And the
Nasher and he starts with G.
Yeah.
Where he eats them every night and they regrow every morning as long as he doesn't break the bones.
So he's got them pulling his boat to so he can travel across, and he's using Stormbreaker to power it with the Rainbow Bridge. I don't know if you saw that. That little clip.
I just love the exercise scene at the start with the fucking the giant skeleton. Yeah.
He's leaning right into the the ultimate Thor. It was Stormbreaker was his name, but I can't remember the name of the dude, but he had the sleeveless jacket and the ponytail in the comics, like pure 80s kind of style. Thought that was cool. If we get some Better A Bill in this, I will be the happiest man on the planet. I want some horse face coming happening. Jane Foster is the Mighty Thor from Secret Empire comics. Fantastic. She looked great. And also wielding that broken original Mjolnir is... that looks sick.
It does.
Great fun. And you can already see some great little Easter eggs thrown in, especially in that scene where it's Thor running through the woods as a child growing up, and you see his original not MCU, but original comics costume on the adolescent one where he's got the helmet with the wings, and then the next one he's got the
brighter coloured too. He's
got the Straczynski, the Michael Straczynski, which is the Thor reboot, the best Thor reboot, where it was just no helmet, long hair, but it was the pure silver arms, which he kind of originally had, and that kind of featured. And then he's gone to the 90s proper blue and yellow Thor armor on the boat scenes and stuff. It looks like there's some shit happening in New Asgard. Valkyrie doesn't look happy. She looks kind of fed up, and I think that might be cool as no one needs to lead New Asgard, and they're just going to be
I think
traversing the universe together as kind of I don't know, a kind of Norse Guardians or whatever. Well, that was the comic. There was Asgardians of the Galaxy, which was a great comic run if you guys haven't read that.
No.
And then Christian Bale's coming in as Gore the God Butcher, which is a fucking brutal comic series if you guys haven't read that.
I think you'll find Natalie Portman's rendition of Thor will be the sobering balance or counterpoint to the comical Thor that we've got with Chris Hemsworth. And even the way that she kind of came in right at the end of it is just the teaser trailer. We're going to get at least a full trailer, if not 2 full trailers before the movie's out, and it's out towards the end of this year from memory.
I think it's out in a couple of months.
June or July. Yeah,
I think it's actually now it's holding the record for the shortest amount of time between the first trailer release and the film
and the
release.
movie.
Yeah, which is 3 months. That's short lead time.
Yeah, it is.
Usually they run, they do a teaser a year and a half out or whatever. But these guys
we've all forgotten by then.
Yeah,
but there's so much in the
Tiger's
fucking
coming in hot.
there's so much in the MCU being released this year. It's crazy. I'm not surprised they're doing short runs because they don't have time to fuck around. And if you add that to all the Star Wars stuff coming out this year, it's all now Disney. Yeah. Those guys have a full fucking schedule. Yeah.
It looks fun. I'm excited for it.
I
think it's
am
gonna be great.
super excited for it.
Yeah.
I obviously love all the people who are in it as well. I think they're all great. I hope it doesn't feature too much Guardians. Like, I'd like Guardians to maybe be the first max half hour, because it kind of like the trailer kind of implies that they leave Thor and Korg and then they fuck off and do their own thing.
Yeah.
If it's a buddy road trip between Thor and Korg, take my fucking money right now. Yeah.
But who
I'll
would
buy
have thought
2 seats? No, I'll buy 3 seats. No, fuck it. I'll buy 4 seats so I can lie there in luxury just to watch this
like
pure
you're at the
joy.
back of the bus.
Like, yeah.
You can see them in a what was that comedy movie with the alien in the fucking Paul.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I would picture that movie. Just with the cosmological backstory. Who would have thought that 15 years on and how many movies are we up to now in the MCU? 25,
27,
maybe?
yeah, something like
That we'd still be fucking super excited for another MCU movie. You got to hand them credit. We're still super
100%.
excited.
Yeah.
They're the only ones making movies at the moment, really, in terms of AAA blockbuster titles. Who else is doing it? Not many.
No.
Dune,
Guys behind the
Villeneuve,
Northman, and that's a nice segue, isn't it? Speaking about Norse folks,
A couple of Norse buddies in there. Yeah.
who wants to see the most ripped Skarsgård tear through people with axes? This guy.
Me too, but it's like fucking Nicole Kidman, man. Who was the
Apparently,
dumb
it's super
fucking...
like psychological trippy though.
Yeah, but
like,
who was
some
the
of those
dumb
like
fucking monkey that cast some
Cast her.
plastic woman? Don't get me wrong, that was sexist. Some plastic person in a fucking old Norse fucking movie. Like just, she's had so much plastic surgery that it's not funny, and you go and throw her in a movie that's meant to be set in a historical, I say in quotation marks, movie. Yeah, no, not cool. Not cool at all. But I do want to see it because I love Alexander Skarsgård.
And the backstory. I mean, like the
Willem
the world
Dafoe.
it's set in. Yeah, hell yeah. And the world it's set in is just awesome.
Yeah,
it looks savage as well.
Coming out from Focus Features is the distributor. I've never heard of them. Interesting.
I haven't got much to say. I've watched the first trailer and that's it. And I've stayed away from it.
They've just started ramping it up. So there's been a few more trailers, and they seem to focus more on that kind of weird vision world that he seems to go to, which is like the smoky, like almost like you see the Valkyries, but they're like far too ethereal to what like we picture, like I guess a Valkyrie as. Like they're almost like vaporish kind of thing. Like there's that kind of like whole vibe going on. Obviously all the like flashbacks he has to a kid and his young mom, and then seeing her currently, and he's just constantly. But it was that thing in the trailer, that beat in the trailer of just repeating, like it was that war chant. It was repeating. This guy killed my father. I'm going to kill him.
Killed my father. Killed my mother.
Yeah.
Took my.
And that's who's
who's
playing. Is it
Took my weed pipe.
Who is the dude playing the bad guy? Is it Ethan Hawke? Or am I just crossing Moon Knight and that?
No, you're crossing Moon Knight for sure.
Oh, Bill Skarsgård's in it as well. Oh
I
yeah,
thought
Ethan
Ethan
Hawke. Ethan Hawke's the bad guy. Yeah.
Champion.
He's getting around at the moment, isn't he?
I just woke up, Jess. Sorry.
Thor, the Icelandic strongman's in it.
Oh, the mountain.
Yeah,
The mountain,
yeah.
From Game of Thrones. Yeah.
Thor Bjornsson.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, is that?
Oh,
him?
and look,
No.
Black is in it as the CRS. Fucking
Björk.
Black.
So someone
Bill
was playing some
Skarsgård,
fry
Will-
pans and some
Nicole
saucepans.
Kidman, even her cast
rubbing
photo's
the top of
horrible.
a glass that's been half filled with water with a wet finger. Just
Anyway,
that's soundtrack. Coming up on the next section, we review Bjork.
Black.
Bjork.
I'm very excited for it. Me and Louise are going to go and see it at the movies. Really,
Did you
really
see the colossal fuck up they went through though?
No.
So they in London they put up a bunch of posters in bus shelters and on buses and stuff.
Yes,
but they
I did
left
see
off
this.
the title of the movie, so it just had the tagline and the characters, but it didn't say the Northman. So they had to rip them all down.
It was exactly the poster, just without the movie title on it.
Yeah, literally.
Right?
Somebody hid a layer. They hid the layer on the file
before
they sent it to the printer.
Yeah. There was a meme going around that just said, I think I might have sent it to you guys. Did I send it to you guys? I know I saw it on Facebook. It just said somebody's having a bad day. Yeah. Anyway. All right. Should we take a 2-minute break quickly?
2-minute break.
Sure.
Then
Figure
come
shit
back
out.
and vengeance.
Hey, hey.
And we're back. Poker faces.
Yeah, g'day, champions. How are you? Yeah, welcome back.
How the fuck are
nice
yous?
to be here.
Oh my god, it's like
I'll tell
pouring
you
blood
what, I've got
into
a-
a... What the fuck is this?
I've got a few complaints, actually. I've been coming here for years, and the bloody aircon still doesn't work, and the Carlton Draft's not on, and this pub's actually one of the worst pubs I've ever fucking been in. So, you can go fuck yourself, to be honest.
Yeah, and they'll end up there for the next fucking 20 fucking years, won't
But
they?
you know what? I hear you're doing 2 up on Monday, so I might come in and have a little, put a $5 in and see
A
where
little
the bloody day
flutter.
goes.
Okay, speaking of which, Tom, I know this is totally off topic, and I shouldn't get us off topic because we're kind of on a time limit. Tell us about the Hawke's Brewery.
Oh, yes, Bob Hawke's. Fantastic. If you love the 1980s, please go to Bob Hawke's Beer and Leisure Centre on Sydney Street in Marrickville. It is a love letter to wood panelling, yellow kind of paned glass in a wavy form, really atrocious carpets, and 80s Australian, 1980s Australian Chinese food. So they have a full-blown 80s style Australian Chinese restaurant in there called the Lucky Prawn, which has some of the best sesame prawn toast I've ever had. It is also in the classic, like, that you can see into the kitchen, but it's in that round, like, curved fishbowl thing, and then there is a wall with a fish tank in it. It is like, it's every
Ironically, you just
1980s style Chinese restaurant that was born in Australia. In fact, I had some
described
dudes
Star
come
City
in-
Casino, basically.
No, because Star City is too fancy. This is a little bit shit, but in a really good way. They've got their main 5 beers on tap, and then they're doing a couple of extras. So when I went there, they had a Eldorado XBA, a ESB, and a Hoppy Sour, which were all excellent. I really liked the ESB. I was trundling through that quite happily. And then they've got a massive little deck, which has another bar up there, which I'm sure they'll use for like little function things. And then there's the pool room. And everything goes straight to the pool room because it is full of Bob Hawke memorabilia. I will fully disclose this, and the Hawks guy knows this because one of the Hawks reps asked me if I would ever work for Hawks, and I said, I don't give a fuck about Australian politics, to be honest. I think they're all a bunch of... Sorry, Pete. Mark the clip.
Done.
I think it needs to be said. But yeah, if you've
Especially
ever had
at this current climate. Yep.
yeah. But if you've ever had an inkling for a love of Australian politics and a real love of Bob Hawke, I know there are a lot of big fans of Bob Hawke, and he did a lot of good things. I got to hand it to him, especially Landcare. Landcare is a great thing. That he has there. It's almost a museum. It's a museum to the legacy of Bob Hawke. They also have a counter above the back bar, which also contains a full spirits and wine list. So it's not just beer people that can go there. It's like it's catering to all tastes. though they pledged when they signed up with Bob Hawke that they would donate. I think it was $1 from every schooner, and that would get them to $1 million. So they've pledged $1 million to Landcare, and so it shows the counter of how far they're going in terms of reaching that goal. And before they've opened their brewery, in the short time they've been a company, they were sitting on something like $330,000. So that's a solid effort for someone who didn't have a brick and mortars brewery up until that time. But yeah, the food's great. The beers are good. The ESB is fantastic. If they still have that on, highly recommend it. And then it's just a nice place to sit. You know, it's a bit of pub carpet. It's a bit of classic wood table, wood paneling, like kind of dividers. If you sit in the restaurant section of the Lucky Prawn, there are Lazy Susans, which really complement the experience. But at summer, I just go like, you know what? I'm just going to go around and have a Mongolian lamb and a lager. I'll see you in 20 minutes. Yeah. Like, I'd happily pop in there for lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. The food's good. A little pricey, we'll say. It's definitely not 80s Australian Chinese restaurant prices.
Back when petrol was 65 cents a litre.
Yeah. No, it is modern pricing. But it's a really good vibe. The tunes are always on point, especially for me, being, you know, an old soul rock, Australiana rock kind of vibe. It's hitting those things. But the best thing, and this is the best thing, is when you go in to relieve yourself in the bathroom, across the speakers is playing some classic 1980s cricket commentary from Richie Benaud.
Oh, really?
To the point where there was a wicket got taken out as I was midstream, and I went, "Hey, I got him!" And the guy next to me went, "Hey, I got him!" And we went, "Yeah, bro, that happened 40 years ago. Why are we still cheering?" But I don't know. It's just the whole feel of the vibe.
Clever.
But yeah, it's a really cool space. But yeah, they're the newest brewery in Marrickville, so go check them and mixtape out. Don't come see me at Batch because I'll be busy. I have no time for it. No, I've always got time for it. I'm joking. I'm just being bitter. But yeah,
Should we?
No, it's good. It's good. It's great.
That's cool. I will have to go check that out next time we do
Let's
a
kick
Marrickville
this
tour.
fucking hornet's nest.
Okay.
Hornet's nest.
Yeah, I don't know.
You just want to kick something.
Yeah.
You vagrant.
Yeah, anything.
The Batman.
Hornet's nest. Yeah, big metal wall.
Peter.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd like you to start us off.
You were the most recent. You were only the most recent viewer by 2 days, but yep. Because I went and saw it again on Sunday night.
I wish I'd seen it at the movies.
Yes. Well, that cinematic experience. I'm sure someone told us about it.
Shut up.
Only last year. I'm sure someone said.
The cinematic experience can go suck my left nut.
I'm
to be
sure
honest.
someone said that you should experience this in the movie, and that I'm
Yes
sure.
and
that
no.
about this.
Yes and no. Yes and no.
It was not a perfect movie, but I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I don't think it was a perfect movie, but I think it was a damn well closer than a lot of other fucking movies we've got in the last many years. I think we've been blessed with a couple of very good cinematic films, and I would actually throw this in a film category alongside Dune and Denis Villeneuve's Blade Runner. I think those style of movies are, I think, well and truly head and shoulders above a lot of the other rubbish we've gotten in a lot of years.
Yes. It was dark and gritty. It was what I wanted out of a Gotham as a backdrop. The soundtrack was on point.
Yeah.
Like they didn't just use the Nevada track. They used the master track, and you could tell like there was a lot of subtlety when that was playing. And I actually went back. I checked after the movie that it was actually an original recording because it just felt so high quality. And you know that Nirvana hasn't been around for 20 years now, 30 years,
25, yeah.
It was like listening to it on a fucking LP. And the graininess.
Should point out the rest of the soundtrack was done by Michael Giannacco, who's done several films now, especially in recent years.
But you got the theme from that track all the way through the rest of the music too. There was just repeating notes in all of that music that was on point.
But you like watching it for a second time,
which I will do. I did buy it.
Yeah, so we watched it in cinemas for the second time on Sunday night, and I'd been listening to the soundtrack because I love that new Batman.
Yeah,
that drum beat or whatever goes with it, and once you know what you're listening for, you watch and listen to the movie, and it's that same beat and chords played, but in different instruments.
Yes,
there's the drums, and then there's the wind instruments, and then it plays in the piano and all that, and it's the same notes all the way through. But it's just the different instruments give the different scenes a different
really
feel.
Interesting if they release the soundtrack, if they haven't already.
I know it's definitely 100% out. I've been listening to it.
It's on Spotify already. Yeah.
And it's not. It wasn't just the soundtrack. It wasn't just the music. It was the sound space all the way through the movie. The jingle of when Batman's in the subway at the start, and we'll try and keep this relatively spoiler free.
No, we won't. It's absolutely spoilers.
Yeah,
we're going balls deep on spoilers.
Right.
Yeah,
balls deep. All right. When he first appears on screen in the Batsuit in the subway, his jingle reminded me of Spurs. Every time he took a footstep, you got a solid footstep sound, but you got a really metallic hit. And you got that throughout the rest of the movie, but it was most pronounced with the echo chamber that is the subway station when he gets into that first fight.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
One of the big things with his footsteps too is the creak of the leather. It's the leather boots, and just I mean, I wear, and Tom, I'm sure you do too, wear solid leather boots every day. And it's that fresh leather boot creak as you walk, and it's just like
or it's a little bit old leather,
or well worn in,
where it's straining just that little bit to go that before it tears, and it's just that it's not a rip, but it's a borderline rip, and it's a very specific sound, but it's
it was a very familiar sound for people that walk in that sort of attire, I guess, too.
I totally agree with what Pete's saying in that first scene where he walks into the subway, and it's like an Old West like Spurs jingle. I really think though the best use of sound was that weird use of absence of sound when they turned in the opening scene to the dark hallways where there was negative space.
Yeah.
And I put that in my notes, and it's just that negative space, and then there's almost like a silence chamber of sound in the middle. Yeah, it's that whole vacuum, because it's like people expect to hear that jingle, but then nothing happens.
They expect him
that's
to walk
even
out.
scarier.
Yeah.
It's like,
it
am
built
I actually
the atmosphere
being
and the
watched?
tension.
Yeah.
And that first fight scene was brutal.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. That opening brutal. That fight scene was brutal, but I think that opening scene was more psychologically brutal.
The whole movie's like that.
Scene.
I think the amount of broodiness in, and I can't think of a better word for it, for that whole movie was on
Batman,
point.
So yeah.
So
you say that, but there's been plenty of Batman movies where that wasn't an atmosphere that they created successfully.
I just want to quickly touch on the opening scene and versus the end scene. So when we get to that, they're a mirror of each other to an extent.
Okay.
I can see
what
both of you ticking over there all of a sudden. But no,
I'm really tired, so I'm just trying to cast my mind back. I remember the opening, but not so much the closing.
So
the whole movie. Go.
No, I see it now. Yeah,
The only, I had a couple of gripes with it, especially watching the second time. I had these issues the first time. Two of them I had the first time. They were reiterated the second watch through. One of them maybe not so much.
The same gripes.
And the third gripe was I think was a massive flaw in the writing of the character. So my first two gripes were both to do with the suit. I hated the flight suit, the glide suit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought it was very. I didn't think
Out
it
of
was very
place.
theatrical. I thought it was too real world when it wasn't enough Batman.
We talked about that before we even saw the movie, though, and I think I made that comment. And there's been a lot of people that have complained about that. The whole point of a Batman movie is to suspend a level of disbelief appropriate to the fact that you're watching clearly you're watching a comic book movie. So why go to the extent of having the realism when you could have maintained the same atmosphere that you did for the rest of the fucking movie and just had his cape whip up and out?
Yeah.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that because I think the wingsuit really worked in the realism of the tech of that film.
It doesn't need to be realistic, Tom. He's in a jet engine-powered fucking V8 Camaro, and you want realism from the flight suit? Come on.
Okay, so
I've seen videos of dudes driving those cars on the salt plains in fucking Utah. Like they exist. I thought the whole idea of his tech, and this comes back, and this is going to come back. I'm sorry if I'm going to cut off here, but it comes back to Pete's message about the cowl and the nose bridge of the helmet.
Oh, I hated it.
It was, but it was. I thought it was a nice little homage to the old
Adam West
60s. Yeah, Adam West 60s.
It looked like someone
also
cut black cardboard out for the nose bridge.
See, I really
also
liked it. I like the whole.
Yeah,
suit.
I thought it was a nice thing to like. His armor was very plated, like very thick. Also, his headpiece, it just looked like he'd taken an army helmet and then put a little bit of like a bit extra down over the top. I thought it worked really well with, especially the way the bike looked and especially the way the Batmobile looked, in that it was all built by hand and by someone who is, it's year one Batman. He's still not refined enough to make those things work as aesthetically as he may want them to be, as we're used to. Like, it's not, you're not going to get the Todd McFarlane fucking cowl out of year one Batman. That's a well-established Batman. I think and that worked to me with that dirty, gritty Gotham that we got. It was the most gothic Gotham I think we've ever had the real pleasure of seeing. Yeah.
I still remember 89 Batman, like the Penguin scenes had that real dark, fucked up grit to it as well.
It's not 89, but
yeah.
It was that Batman Returns, was it?
That was Returns, yeah. It's such a similar vibe though. I know exactly what you're talking about. But yeah, I think that's for me, that's the reason the tech worked, and I think the wingsuit worked because year one Batman wouldn't have had the time to, like, he would have, like, especially if it's a,
honestly,
say we put it in 2022 and it's a year one Batman in 2022, he'd be able to figure out a fucking wingsuit because every Tom, Dick and Harry that does.
But we got the whole Morgan Freeman and like the realistic tech in the Nolan Batman movies. We didn't need to revisit it. I would challenge you to, like, and you will probably just disagree for the sake of having the debate, but I honestly don't think any element of that entire movie would have worked any less if a fucking Spawn-esque cape had mysteriously self-animated and fucking flown out.
No.
I just don't
I
think
would
it
love to have
mattered.
seen it because I think I understand.
Like, I'm not taking it to the 11th degree like they did in the Spawn movie. And what I'm saying is, like, you could have had a very clear moonlight scene of him on the top of a building and it would have worked just as well. He could have jumped off and the cape could have flown out. They didn't even have to explain how he flew down. I just didn't get it.
I took it. It's all he's this is like They didn't allude to how much interaction he had with the Joker before he put him in Arkham. Maybe it was like he simply just got Joker and put him in. Like, it's Joker's Joker's learning, Batman's learning, that kind of thing. The yin and yang kind of the thing. But it really felt like the Riddler was his first test, like real test as Batman, in terms of figuring out a villain and how they work, how to take them down without as much collateral damage as possible. But then also dealing with a fucking thorn in his side that was Penguin. And for that, I thought that's why he was, like, rushing all this tech into production. Like,
you know,
It's-
I don't think he would have been swooping down on Joker to scare him, because Joker would have been like, that's fucking hilarious. I love that.
I find it actually quite funny you bring that up and that way, because you'd look at that extra Joker scene and he's obviously burnt and scarred, and you go, did that happen in the capture? Did that happen within the capture of him and Batman's
a bit gun shy as a result?
Inexperience of, like, his inexperience as his crime fighting, and someone got even if it was the villain, the collateral damage, even if it was the villain that got horribly disfigured and scarred while he captured him. So it's interesting that's I just thought there could have been a little bit more theme to the flight suit. It just felt like a parachuter jumping out with a flight suit and then a parachute. There was
Fuck, he hit that car hard though.
yeah. Just
And
I felt that in the cinema.
I actually
was like,
said,
"Oh,
"Holy fuck!"
my
on my
ribs.
couch. Yeah, but I also thought, "Are you going to pull the fucking chute?" Like, I thought as he was approaching that bridge, like, "Don't go under it, you idiot!" And that was probably one of the only moments in the film where I looked at what the character was doing and thought, "You idiot!"
But I thought that was
It plays
true
into the
year
year one.
Batman.
You're right.
yeah.
It's-
It definitely
from that
does.
perspective.
It definitely
It
does.
also makes it forgivable that he is the world's worst detective in that movie. I mean,
Hawke.
the Riddler.
Come on.
The Riddler.
Like, how you got to figure that out so much quicker than he did. Jesus Christ,
it was bad, and that was
He was
that was
just
one
asking.
of my.
It's kept like he kept hinting, like hitting the hint button in one of those conversational like video
I'm gonna need
games.
another one. I'm gonna need.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna give you the first letter. I'll give you the second letter. I'll give you the third letter. Like, to have Riddler get one up over him as badly as he did in that jail scene, and just the look of realization on Riddler's face that
but
you're
Pete,
not as smart as I gave you credit for.
This
Here we go.
this is what I was coming back to when you said that we're not going to need actors. You had Robert Pattinson standing there in a single pose for almost 5 minutes of that confession interrogation scene. He didn't move his head. Everything you were getting from the character was in the eyes and in basically jawline to shoulders. And when the Riddler was saying Bruce Wayne, and then went through his little speech, and then he
I
finally
got
said,
that subtlety.
and finally said, "Oh, he's the only one I didn't get." You saw Bruce take a breath,
Yeah.
and then the
visual
character
release.
came
Yeah.
back, and then
Yes.
he approached the screen, and then then he was like, "Okay, rightio, I've recomposed myself," and that is
I
something.
thought that was a brilliant section of the movie, Dan.
and you're not going to
that's what-
get that with a digital character.
Okay, I don't know how you're making that as a counterpoint to me calling him out as the world's worst detective, though.
No, it's not. No, this is me calling you back to when you were saying Unreal Engine, volume, such and such.
Sure.
We're not going to need actors. I do not. There is no way a programmer is ever going to take the place of someone of that acting caliber.
But they don't even. It's such the wrong conversation in the midst of this, but they don't even do that in the Unreal Engine when they're making a video game. We saw the mocap and the micro expressions being captured by a GoPro to feed into God of War. Even with Unreal Engine being the basis for
I'm
movies,
just
they're still
going
going to have
purely-
real actors.
I'm purely going by what you said. We're not going to need actors. We are always going to need actors in a capacity, whether it's a voice acting.
Sounds like you're making a bit of a mountain out of a molehill, Dan.
We're all
Come down off that tower.
He's right in what he's saying. There is a subtlety
right,
to
yeah.
human behavior that we still can't capture.
Come
Okay?
on, you're going a bit deep there.
But my point in that scene, but you did raise a really good point, Dan, and I love the tension of that moment, particularly when he looks up at the camera.
yeah.
And
but it's
the
just
dialogue,
it's just an eye movement. It's not a head
And-
tilt.
and the
it's just
dialogue-
a
I don't
fucking-
Did you feel in that scene like as he thought that Bruce Wayne was coming out as the Batman, the surrounding darkness grew? Did you guys get that feeling as well in that scene?
Not
It
in that
kind of
scene.
felt like
There were
for me. It kind of felt like the scene when Gandalf goes big, and then the background, like the Vignette, the
looming,
comes in,
yeah.
and because he was just like I'm going to break my rule. I'm going to have to kill you because if you figured out I'm Batman, then it's all over because, you know, whatever.
That's not what I took away from that. That's really interesting.
Really? Oh,
and that's the sign of a fucking great scene, right? You can have three people watch it.
I thought Batman was like going to be like, I'm going to break my rule and kill you. If you come out and say that I know you're Batman, that he's going to be like, cool, I'm going to snap your neck.
I think so. What I took from that sequence was that Robin Pattinson or Bruce froze because he wasn't sure how to respond to the fact that he's being outed on a closed circuit TV camera in Arkham. It was too late to kill him.
The cogs were turning. It was too late to kill him,
and he just didn't know how to respond, how to react, how to get out of it, and that's why he had that visible tension drop moment.
My thing from that was that his reaction then was to go, "Well, fuck it, I'm going to kill you."
No, I think it was too late. With the CCTV, it wouldn't have mattered at that point.
I mean, you know, he's fucking Batman. Like, if anyone's going to get rid of some CCTV and suddenly be like, oh, no, I don't know what happened.
But what I didn't like was that Riddler got one over him, that he had to go back to the apartment only after being told that there was more to the story. He should have figured that out while he was in the apartment the first time. And I get that it's a year one Batman story, but, I mean, Bruce is portrayed as somebody who's always been hyper-intelligent. That's what led him to the tech to become Batman. So he had to be a fucking smart dude before year one. And I don't think they did a good job of portraying that intellect in this movie.
Well, I think that was because they really portrayed him as the recluse loner Batman. Bruce, sorry.
That's not mutually exclusive, those two attributes, though. He was...
but I mean...
The comics that I read, he was a recluse. He was dark. He was brooding. He was dealing with psychological issues. But he'd walk into a crime scene, take a look around, and see 5 things the cops missed. And I was actually watching the movie thinking, you know, they did a better job of this in the rewrite for Elemental for Sherlock Holmes. Like, even if they'd gone down that sequence of and it would have been out of atmosphere and it would have broken from the themes in the movie. But even just having things pop out visually while you're watching it to just represent Batman's Sherlock Holmes-esque visualization of a crime scene and instantly see clues that everyone else missed. I mean, I know what you mean. It would definitely have broken the scene if had those things pop out like But I mean, I just think that whole recluse thing. Like, it's I don't know. It's not the year one Batman I think I really think of. I think of young, fucking extraordinarily rich dickheads who just have that money and just playboy it up, which we know Bruce is the playboy billionaire and then Batman by night. And then I know they've been, like, they did a really good job in Nolan's Batman of playing the playboy Bruce up until the time he was meant to be a recluse, like, billionaire. So I guess that was... I mean, it worked for Patterson. I think Patterson played a brilliant recluse Batman. I think that really worked for him. But I can also see in that, like... You know when people get too neurotic about things and then they miss the obvious? Like, I thought it was playing to more, a bit towards that. Like, he was looking for all... It's not what I expected.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's I don't think it's really the Batman a lot of people are expecting this take on it. Like,
no, I think apart from him not portraying a higher than average intellect when it comes to analyzing clues, I think every other aspect of his portrayal as Batman was on point for what I wanted and what I expected out of a good Batman movie.
Okay.
The broodiness. So the other comment I wrote in the notes was I think Robert Pattinson was a perfect Batman, but a shit Bruce Wayne. I didn't buy into the Bruce Wayne character the way that I did a Batman character, and potentially there was some purpose to that because they actually, I mean, I think it's Catwoman that actually says, or maybe it was Riddler saying, this is the real you, Batman. You put the mask on to become yourself the same way that I do. And so perhaps it broke from what I expected out of a Bruce Wayne character a little bit purposely because he is Batman, he's not Bruce Wayne. I don't know.
He hasn't found that balance yet.
I just didn't buy the Bruce character as much as the Batman character.
I don't think that's an issue. because we finally got every other movie before this, maybe other than Batman 89, have been either Bruce Wayne movies or villain movies.
Batman films.
No, this was the
Villain
first.
movies, right.
This was the first Batman movie. We have not had a Batman movie since 89. Everything else, the focus has been the Batman Begins was a Bruce Wayne movie. The Dark Knight was a Joker movie.
All right, fair enough. Yeah.
The Dark Knight Returns was a Bruce Wayne movie. Who forget about the Schumacher movies and that, but they were mainly Bruce Wayne
don't
movies.
count.
No, you can't. It's the bat credit card.
Yeah,
You always
the bat
need to remember
credit
the bat credit card.
This is the
How dare you
first.
forget the bat
It's-
credit
that
card?
was the
Actually,
Alyssa Silverstone
Dan,
in a
take
cat
yourself
suit movie.
outside and do a lap, and never forget about the bat credit card again, please.
This was a Batman movie, and even Bruce says when Alfred first comes up to him and says the accountants are coming here, and Bruce is like, why are they coming here? And Alfred's like, because we need to run this company. And he's like, I don't give a shit about that. This is what I do. This is who I am. That can fuck right off, because that does not matter. And that is Bruce. That is the Batman. This is the first time we have seen a comic book accurate level of Batman versus Bruce. Bruce was in 20 minutes of this movie, if that, and it was the Batman the rest of the time. And in the comic books, you might get 4 or 5 comic books where he does not. Not wearing the cowl does not make him Batman, but you don't. You might not. You might go entire
Doesn't make him
story arcs.
You're not doing Bruce in high society.
You're not doing Bruce in high society.
You're not doing Bruce in the
I
boardroom.
wasn't expecting
yeah.
any of that. My comment about not buying into him as Bruce was actually the actor's portrayal of Bruce. It wasn't. It's funny. It was more mopey brood than the rest of the on-point Batman brooding.
I think
The Batman brooding was psychological, heavy weight on his shoulders, and you felt it. It was palpable through every scene with him in it as Batman.
I think that also comes down to the point to, and I don't know whether they did this on purpose or this was my takeaway from it, was he doesn't want to be Bruce. He doesn't want to turn up to these things
I got
as
that
Bruce.
too, yeah.
So it's not just him being a broody Bruce because his parents died and he's an orphan and all this. This is a Bruce where he doesn't feel comfortable in this society. He doesn't want to be there. He wants to be in the cave. He wants to be getting prepped and preparing himself psychologically and physically to be out that night to do what he
Be the
does.
Batman.
And this was kind of, and as Tom's
Maybe
saying,
that's what I was picking up on, Dan.
This is a year 2 Batman. This is he doesn't want to do this, but he also hasn't reached that point where he goes, you know what, I need to do this. I need to, you know what, Alfred's right. I need to keep up these appearances. We need to.
Yeah. He hasn't reached that balance.
No, he hasn't reached.
I think
that
you're right,
balance.
actually, Dan. I think, and perhaps that's what I was picking up on, is he is portrayed as a very awkward, almost Asperger's kind of character as Bruce.
He's the recluse he's the recluse too early for the Batman I guess we're used to.
Well, and he doesn't know how to act in
a Dark Knight Returns recluse
where he's
Batman,
polished.
Yeah,
I get.
he's already done. He's done the years of the high society, but then he doesn't come out, and people wonder if it's still old Bruce Wayne up in the mansion kind of thing. They're worrying that far too early in his career. For
Yeah,
this
maybe.
film, I think,
I don't know if I quite agree with that. I think maybe that. Look, there's probably some psychological reasoning behind it as well. They were trying to portray. I think they were trying to close a gap between the antagonist and the protagonist because they're pretty similar.
Yeah.
In a lot of those scenes.
Did you guys see that thing that Matt Reeves actually tweeted where the dude caught out the early Riddler scene you get?
I didn't read the article. I saw the headline and marked it.
Yeah, it's 39 minutes or something into the film, and there's a shot of the Iceberg Lounge, and you see there's an apartment building on the right-hand side, and then the Iceberg Lounge is down here, and in the window there is the Riddler. It's Paul Dano's Riddler looking over, and it's like an early little thing, like he was just across the road the entire time, and Yeah, it's like that classic, like it's the Zodiac Killer kind of vibe.
Yeah,
of like
yeah.
they were so close and you never saw it kind of thing.
I gotta
Paul
say,
Dano
I was
is the
very
Riddler.
impressed.
Paul Dano was fucking amazing. Amazing. And the switch between...
That scene with when it's just like the phone camera, when he's just like
Yeah.
screering into it as
Yeah,
well. Like,
yeah.
I was like legitimately like, oh fuck, like, that's creepy.
The change between him from the very opening sequence where he's sitting on top of the mayor and he almost does this weird sexual... He sits on top of him and he does the whole... And he pulls out
Yeah,
the
he, like,
gaffer
sniffs him a
tape
bit,
and
yeah.
then stretches out the gaffer tape and then goes in there to the next Riddler recording we see with the where he's a little bit more psycho, and then all of the phone recordings, and then you get that social media post where he goes, "Hey guys, thanks for following. We're all getting ready for this." And it's
I
like,
really appreciated your support over
really-
the last
yeah,
week.
let's do this.
Like
And
over
then
the last week.
Yeah.
Like, that
Yeah.
really stood out for me too. It was a short period of time.
And then the next scene you get him in, and he is like the crazy. And I shouldn't say this, I won't say it, but he is like has an actual proper issue where he screams and yells when Batman says, "I'm not working with you." Like, I don't know what
Yeah.
delusion you live in. We are
has the
not
breakdown,
working
like, yeah.
together. And then
Oh, he's
he
definitely
has that.
breaks the-
portrayed as a
it's-
spectrum character, no doubt. about
100%.
it,
breaks
right?
the,
Which
breaks
is
the
correct
fantasy for him
terminology.
as well, 100%. Like,
Oh yeah. Should we quickly review our fourth and final beer before
Yes.
we?
Before I talk about the Batmobile scene and get another hard on,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
100%.
yeah.
I didn't finish mine, and I've still got 2 more gripes to go for too.
Then I'll be about the Batmobile scene because I'll come through this TV and slap you.
You didn't finish your fourth beer? Is that what? Oh, you didn't finish your point. We're going to come
I
back
didn't
to your
finish
point.
my 2 gripe. My
Yeah.
2 of my 3 gripes.
So what are you drinking?
Me, I'm on to my 4th beer. I didn't review my 3rd, and I've already taken the can away. This is the
No,
Ocean
so bad at this.
Ocean View Pale Ale. This is a proper
You have
American
one job.
pale ale.
It's drink beers and tell us what you're drinking.
5%. 5%. It's really
It's
good.
job number one.
It's really good.
It's job number one.
Number 1 or number 2?
Can I get a little bit more out of you than it's really good?
It's so I had the IPA before, and I called the IPA an American Pale Ale. And
Strong American Pale, I think we called it.
So
Yeah,
this
in the end.
this is the little brother of that Strong American Pale Ale, and
Okay.
it's really nice. It is a American Pale Ale, but on the bottom end of the American Pale Ale. It's less hop, less malt, but it's really nice. It's a really super sessionable, really drinkable American Pale Ale. Really nice, like it. It's 5%. Yeah, solid.
Out of 5?
3 3/4.
Okay.
He's getting technical now.
Tom?
I am drinking, again, the Hawker's Alter Ego East Coast this time. So I've had the West Coast, and now I'm having the East Coast. It's like a little battle between the two. And it is bright gold. It is hazy. It is a classic East Coast IPA. It definitely brings out more of the fruit notes of that Talus hop. It's more of that tropical, but it still comes through with a really sharp dankness. And look, if I was going to review both these beers, I'd say it's Batman v Superman. I'm sorry, I had to. It's just it was right there in front of me. No, I honestly think the West Coast was a better beer in terms of its hitting the style. I think the East Coast is a bit sharp and a bit too bitter. It does say it's not meant to be a kind of full. Bye, Dan. Hope he's back because that's going to be fun otherwise.
It's all right.
Dan, where are you?
No, he's
Daniel.
gone. He's gone.
I'm sorry I made a Batman vs Superman reference. Doesn't mean you need to leave us. Jesus. But yeah, it's super punchy. It's super tasty. Should we pause right here and try and get him back? Maybe. I don't know. What happens in these recordings?
No, I'll finish. Let me do my review, and he might come back in that space of time.
Okay.
I don't think Dan gives a shit about my beer review, to be honest. What did you give the Hawkers East Coast out of 5?
It's probably a 3.75. I'm going to get on Dan's little half points. I like that he's using these now. Yeah, it's a little too too punchy bitter for that East Coast style compared to the West Coast, which I thought was super dank. So
Yeah, right. Okay.
What's your last one? I know what your last one is.
Dan's phone's off as well. Interesting.
Dan has been sucked into Pete.
A void. So my
God, I'm good.
my fourth and final drink for the night, or beer for the night, is One Drop Void, and that is a fucking phenomenal can. I know you can see the intricacy on the YouTube, but the reflectivity in the red foil label's just spectacular. It is a 6.66% sour, which is a very nondescript way to describe what is an amazingly complicated beer. It is a kettle sour, clearly a kettle sour, with a dark malt base. And it pours like blood. Not a lot of head at all. And there wasn't even
I got zero head
Yep.
when I poured it. Absolute zero.
Black currants.
How much of your can have you poured in there, Pete?
Not all of it. I know there's lots of floaties at the bottom.
No, it's not floaties. It's chunks.
Chunks.
It's like fruit skin. So I've already had this beer for everyone playing at home, and it was literal like I wasn't ready for
currant
them.
skins.
And it was skins, and I
That is
copped
what it
a few
is, by
down
the way,
gob.
apparently.
Yeah.
It is literally black currant
Yeah.
skins.
No, it is.
And
Look, it worked. Yeah.
I'm glad I bought a 4-pack of it, to be honest.
You got a 4-pack of it. Jesus.
I'm not drinking any more tonight, but yeah, no. I'm,
God, no.
Yeah, okay, I got the chunks down. I'm going to have to strain
it
that.
hits you right in the back of the throat when you're not expecting it.
And it's really, they're very bitter, those skins. It is,
But they weirdly add to it. It's
Oh,
like
no, that's perfect.
pulpy juice. Yeah.
it's a spectacular fucking sour. Lots of dark cherry, lots of Ribena berry juice, solid bitterness. And for 6.7% or near enough, doesn't taste boozy, to be honest. But you do get the malt. I mean, this has been sitting here for the last 40-odd minutes. You do get the malt notes. It's got it's not chocolate, it's more like cocoa. It's got that bitterness to the chocolate, yeah. No, I'm giving that a full-blown 5 out of 5. It's fantastic.
Are you also sacrificing that 5 out of 5 to trying to avoid being sucked into the void because we're all scared of the void and the darkness that comes with it?
I just don't want a mind flayer to come for me while I'm sleeping tonight.
You drank the beer, now I come for your soul.
we can't continue with the conversation on the Batman until Dan comes back. So let's take 5, and if he hasn't, then we might have to wrap early and pick up Batman in the next episode, because there's probably another 15 to 30 minutes of content.
I think we're really just all gonna wax lyrical about the Batmobile chase scene.
Oh,
really,
fuck
in the
yeah!
next little
I mean,
bit.
it's yeah. All right, let's.
That's a teaser, everybody. Teaser until we come back.
Let's take a quick break. Give Dan 5-10 minutes, and then see what happens.
Let that engine rev up.
Otherwise, it's just going to be Tom and I coming back to say goodbye.
And coming back hard.
No, we're not going to talk about the Batmobile scene without Dan. We're back.
Sorry, I'm not the chum dog.
You can do a better Scottish accent than that, Tom.
So chunky you can carve it. There you go. He needs the reverberation on the R.
The glocked R's.
Yeah.
So we're going to continue with Dan's point about Batman.
My last two gripes.
It's gripes.
My last two gripes. So one of the other.
Damn it! I had the perfect fucking segue too. I was gonna be like, "Sorry, we stalled on that conversation." Anyway, here's the Batmobile chase scene. Fucking wasted.
I've had too many of your segues this episode, Tom.
You just need Pete to pause it again. Let's
roll with it. I think it's funny that when we don't use it, I think it's actually
it's
funnier that people know just the gold I was going to give you. Dear listeners.
I'm not going to hold this up before we get to the Batmobile scene, because my final two gripes were, I love the layout of the suit, I love the look of the suit and everything, but it was fucking way too bulletproof. Like the the final scene.
It was super plated.
Yeah, so walking through the iceberg lounge when he was after Selena, and he just walked out of the fucking elevator, or dropped out of the elevator, and just got hammered with machine gun fire from point blank range. It was my point from the trailer on. It was just way too bulletproof. It didn't sit right with me.
Looked cool, just didn't sit with the rest of the film.
Yeah. And then my final issue was, it was a bit of a scripting issue, and I don't know whether it's because they wrote something and then came back to it later on after they'd already filmed certain scenes, but you get the whole Selena and Carmine Falcone father-daughter relationship that is alluded to from the first time you see the two together. And then she goes and says to the guy in the elevator, I need to see Carmine. She goes up and she's talking to him and asks for help. And by this stage, you already know that he's her father. And then she goes to shoot him and go, hey, Dad, I'm Maria Kyle's daughter. It's like, what? Why say that? Like, you've already established for the last 2 hours that you're his daughter, but you come to shoot him, and it felt like something that was filmed early, and then they built the story around that, and then someone forgot to take that little 2 seconds worth of dialogue out before they went on. It was really stilted, and I picked up on it the first time, and I'm like, that's fucking weird. And then when I got watching it the second time through, I'm like, no, that's like bad writing. That is somebody dropped the ball there on the edit or the particular scene that it might have been the best filmed scene that they did when they did 20 takes, but it was the wrong dialogue for what should have been used, and it really broke me there. And then he reacts in a way that is, yeah, okay, cool, I know. Like, what are you talking about? And then even later on, 30 seconds later, he's hitting you with the pool cue, and he's like, my own flesh and blood, and it's like he knew. Like,
felt like almost like a rushed scene, to be honest, in terms of the scripting.
A little bit, yeah.
I agree with you about the bulletproofness of the suit. I was also not happy with the fact that he'd already survived, presumably an AR and AK machine gun, to the chest, and to the back and to the head. He'd survived pistol rounds, no worries. If you've already established a machine gun isn't a problem, then a pistol's not going to be a problem. He gets taken out at the end by buckshot in a shotgun from almost point blank, granted, but people were using sniper rifles and, well, not so much sniper rifles. I'm not expecting a 50 cal on the top, and there certainly wasn't a 50 cal on the, those guys, the goons weren't carrying them, but they were carrying like a 308 hunting rifle, right? Yeah. So the muzzle velocity and the muzzle pressure of a buckshot as it exits the barrel is about 66 foot-pounds of pressure, as opposed to 2,800 out of a standard 308. Yeah, but so Pete, I'm sorry, you're not taking buckshot.
Everybody knows a Hollywood shotgun is the most powerful weapon out there.
It bugged me. It bugged me for a movie where it's so realistic we can't have a cape. We need a fucking flight suit. Yeah, that's it. No, but pick a path, bro. Like, you just told me I had to accept that he couldn't fly with a cape. He needs a flight suit. Okay, so how the fuck does he survive? Like, how does he have ricocheting bullets from proper rifles at 10 times or 100 times the pressure of a fucking shotgun that takes him out? It was a little gripe.
I completely agree.
The Ridley guys can't see very well for those.
Yeah,
I thought the Goon Squad outfits were fucking great though, with the glad wrap over their head, and then the fucking they were talking about the ski mask brand in the chat notes and shit. Yeah.
Yep.
I thought that was actually a really cool little addition in the back, that they were just like, I know where to get this. You can get this here, and there. Like,
it's so realistic cool considering how fucked up the world is. It was so
realistic
chat.
That it is fucked up because those chats actually happen, which is the most fucked up part.
Yeah.
Can we
Do it.
release the Panther?
Do it. Release,
the Panther?
Yep.
So we talk about the cinematic experience. We rip into each other about the cinematic experience, whether or not we believe in it. My cinematic experience with the Batmobile chase scene in Matt Reeves' The Batman was that I was sitting in the Dendy Newtown cinemas.
I love the
greatest cinema in
15-minute
world.
lead into the point. He's like this with beers too.
I set a scene. I set a story. I read Tolkien growing up. Suck my dick.
So articulate.
So I was sitting
too.
next to these two guys, and they were clearly on a date, and like they were like very much enjoying the film. They chatted a little bit. It was fine. A couple on the other side, the girl was like clearly hating the film. The dude was like, "This is the greatest date ever." It was a very nice little polarizing. And there I am, the weirdo, sitting by myself with my popcorn,
Glad wrap
and
on your
my
head and a
Coke.
ski mask.
Yeah, and my 17 beers because I was like, well, fuck it, it's 3 hours long. And also I was sitting there and I had my hands on the rests, and then all of a sudden I feel this like grab as the Batmobile starts up in that scene, and I was just like, look to my right, and I went, "Hey, bro, you probably want to grab him, not me." And his instinctive, this guy's next to me, even though he's on the date with this other guy, his instinctive reaction was to grab to his left because he was so excited. And I was like, cool, you're ruining my high now because I'm expecting to be in a bubble for this and to be alone because that's why I came here and that's how I came here. And then the guy who was with the date with us just looked at me and goes, like, looked at him like, I'm right here. Like, and then they just like, he let go, and I was like, cool, man, enjoy the rest of the film. Please never talk to me ever again. And I like, I was just like, get out of my like
Zone.
It was a fun cinematic experience moment, but it also took me out of my own cinematic experience moment because it broke my bubble kind of thing. But the sound that that fucking Batmobile made as it started up,
The
and
spool
it
up of the
sputtered,
jet engine before the V8
levels.
in.
The levels.
and
yeah.
even like being in the Dendy, which doesn't have the greatest, like, imagine being in a fucking IMAX for that sound. Like, you wouldn't need 4D seats because your whole seat would shake so much that you'd be like jetted out of the cinema. That was, and I talk about how much I fucking loved the sound design, and I know no one else really thinks about this, but the sound design of the pod race in episode 1. But if you hear all the different engine whirring pitches that come
And the
through all the
splutters.
different pod
He got
race,
plenty of splutters out of his out of
that
Anakin's.
scene fucking tops it. It was such a good, that roaring to life, that pure like guttural splutter of that big fucking block V8 that glowed hellfire orange as he started it up. I don't think I'll ever be that hard ever again. Ever.
It's like audio
You can attach
Viagra for Tom.
electrodes to my balls. Never be that hard.
That will be the episode title. It'll be audio Viagra.
Electrodes to my
Audio Viagra.
I thought it was going to be
Audio
electrodes to
Viagra.
my balls, and I'm
Yeah.
glad it's audio Viagra.
So I had a couple of friends that thought that revving the car scene went too long, and I'm like, no, because he did it for
Clearly-
an entire like a reason.
It was for effect.
to split, but it's for effect. But like, there was no way he could have taken Penguin where he was. He needed some
Yeah.
of them to panic.
He needed Penguin to chase.
or Penguin to chase, or some of them to panic and leave. Like he
was also
needed
buying
to
time
split
for
the group.
Selena.
Well, he was,
He was
and Gordon.
and
Gordon,
distracting for both of them. He
Yeah.
he
Yes.
was the I'm
Look at
I'm the big
me.
target.
Yeah, look at me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fuck you up. Like, that's what
Yeah.
that was. Yeah.
I agree. That the scene wasn't too long. Even
No.
parking, how fucking gutturally like hitting it was in terms of the sound, the audio effects. No, it had a purpose. It was well written.
It really felt like, from a soundscape perspective, it was almost like
To me, it was a
in
TIE
that kind
fighter.
of like. Oh no! I mean, for me, it was almost. I think with the lights as well. I got a bit of an alien vibe, like when you first saw the xenomorph, and it was all the flashing lights because there was the spluttering blue, and then suddenly there was the glowing orange, and that's the eyes of the beast. But you're distracted by the flashing blue behind it, which is lighting up the back wall, and it was in that pure rectangular kind of like parking spot. It was. I'd be happy to say it. It was a spiritual experience.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah.
So when I say to me it was a TIE fighter, what I mean is for a fictional machine, because parking your mates in Utah and the salt pan jet engine car testing aside.
Yes, all my friends that have gone to Utah drive their V8 rocket engines.
You fucking threw that back in my face earlier, so you can suck a fat one. But parking that, obviously the Batmobile in this movie is a fictional machine. They had to make up the sound that sounded like it matched the creation on screen, and I think they did a perfect job the same way they did with a TIE Fighter, another fictional machine which sound ends up matching the TIE Fighter perfectly.
Well, it gives that persona of that is like almost an ethereal creature because it's kind of screaming at you. Like it is.
I guess so.
But it's like a hell. It's like a hell scream.
Yes, you went. But
that was the whole thing of like the TIE Fighter was meant to be. It was meant to invoke fear through the fact that it screamed over the top of you, like.
Yeah, it's
no
very similar to the whistling noise that they built into the noses of Japanese suicide kamikaze pilots in World War One.
Yeah, because it's meant to invoke fear just from flying over. But I'm pretty sure that's where they got the inspiration for the TIE Fighter sound from those kamikaze pilots.
Yes,
and then that's obviously Batman's built on fear. Like it 100% aids that. Like that's a perfect comparison.
Oh, but but also just the tonal range, like between the jet engine spooling is a high pitched sound, and then that fucking V8 roar at a real bass note. It was just perfect. Anyway, I think we've probably masturbated enough over that one scene.
I don't know. I mean, I drove a 78 XB Ford V8, and the sound design of that entire chase tickled my balls all the way through. Like, it brought me back to being a 20-year-old in that V8.
I had a 2012 Camaro SS in Boston. It's just that. It's that beast V8 roar you don't get in many cars.
It's disgusting. It's so much pleasure. It's
so visceral. It's so visceral. Yeah. But that's the sound it's purely trying to evoke, and that is such a good.
But it was the jet engine laid on top that really made it for me.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a beastly
it's that turbo
V8.
whir. It's like jet engine turbo kind of like high pitched whir, but it's like that just comes down to the director and the soundscape artist, and then like the Michael Giannacco, the sound, like the music guy, like soundtrack artist. Fuck, I just lost composer. Jesus fucking Christ! I'm so excited right now. I can't think. Just him, like he built that up through like it was a steady rise in the pitch of the music he was playing in the background, and then it
evoked the tension that he was creating too. Batman
100%,
was creating.
But then he started building on those drums, and it was just like then it was chase music, and it's just like. You felt like you were running with him. Like, it was just, that was, for me, it wasn't the standout scene, but it's the scene, like, I thought there were better scenes acted-wise, obviously, but I think from a whole film perspective in terms of...
It was the most cinematic scene in the film.
That's the best way to put it.
The one thing I will say, and like, we need to wrap, but...
we do.
I don't know if you noticed, there were a couple of scenes, and the first one that stood out for me was... Before he emerges from the shadows in the subway right at the start, they synthetically increased the shadow zone in a few scenes. So it was
the absence of the space. Yeah.
It was synthetically darkened. That scene looked more like a plate before he steps out of it. But I think that was perfect for what they were going for. It's almost disappointing they've just finished the Emmys before this movie was released because I hope it's still up for awards by the time that it rolls around to next year. I think it deserves awards. And it's probably one of the better movies I've seen in a while, outside of June, which won a bunch of awards. Actually, no, it got snobbed.
No, it won heaps. Won heaps.
No, it won six Oscars.
Heaps, that's right. It won best cinematography, too, which was the big one.
I mean, I don't care about awards, but I understand where you're coming from. It deserves them.
I don't care. You don't care. But the guys in the making the movie do care because that's what gets them the next gig.
And the people who are paying the bills.
Well, yeah.
Well, yes.
Yeah, but it's also what gets them their next gig, right? That's what I mean.
The people who are paying the
I
bills.
think the box office speaks for itself with that. Like, I don't think awards speak for that. I think the box office will speak for itself for that.
As opposed to Morbius, which we'll talk about next
Or
episode.
bloody fucking Harry Potter. That's also tanked.
Wow.
What?
No surprises
Harry
with
Potter?
either of those two movies. The
The
Fantastic
latest,
Beasts 3.
Fantastic Beasts
Mads.
movies.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen the second
All right.
one.
Dan's just about falling asleep. I'm feeling it. Although Dan's going to have to stick around for a fair bit after this because he's at 40% uploaded.
I'll leave it on. It's fine.
Well,
Leave it on, boy. I'll go to bed.
thank you.
Thank you.
Any closing notes, gentlemen?
Wish my car sounded like that when I started it up. Surely wake the neighbours, that's for sure. I don't even have a car at the moment. It's in the shop still. But, that's fine. No, I'm... I guess the only thing to come from that, and it's a very quick point, is... Do you reckon it needs a sequel? I think it's great as a standalone. I see them
I'd watch more of
moving
them.
towards.
I think you're right about it. It stands alone, but I would watch more of them.
I think there was...
I don't need them, though.
There was so much comic content there between Bruce and Selena that I know leads into other things. It's hard to leave it where it is. Introducing the Joker in Arkham at the end. I really want them to do a Matt Reeves Arkham Asylum without all of the Titan
what I'd
and
like to
the
see.
extra shit.
Yeah.
Like, if you had Joker and Riddler, like, all I could see with that scene watching it a second time was these two fuckers are just going to get together and do Arkham Asylum. Like, they're going to lure Batman in here, and the next movie is just going to be a pure in-house Arkham Asylum horror movie. Like, that's it. That's all this is going to be. You're going to have Scarecrow down there with some fucking fear gas. You're going to have some trippy-ass fucking scenes there. It's like, that's it. That's going to be
But
this
we have
next
to
one.
also...
But it would also be a Joker using Riddler's need to be validated.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Big
That's
time.
what. That's all he
Which
did.
would be great to watch.
That last scene was
You
just
knew it was
pure
coming, but you'd love
manipulation.
to watch it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, fuck
Yeah.
yeah. But we also need to see Colin Farrell's Penguin. I think he deserves a proper Penguin.
Yeah, I do have a fear.
I've still got to say, like, knowing that he was that, it
It's
still
fantastic,
is hard to see. It's so hard to see that it's him, which I think is fantastic. Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
Like, those makeup people deserve awards.
Yeah.
Like, that is amazing. Yeah.
I agree.
To make it as believable as it is, but you still can't. Like, you have to really concentrate on Colin Farrell's face, which is not
from there
like
up.
an unfamous.
Yeah, well, it's always the eyes. It's
Yeah.
No, but that's where the prosthetics came in.
yeah.
Across there, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I think as a standalone, I think it's amazing and fantastic, and we could pull the pin there. And if it stayed with Batman just on the top of the sports stadium, and it didn't roll into that Arkham scene, we could have gone.
believe that
"Yep,
maybe,
cool, no worries, standalone, one shot movie. That's it. We're done. I'd
it's a studio, they're never
fucking
gonna do
love to see. No, they're not. I'd love to see more, but I don't have faith in sequels enough for them to not fuck it up.
Well, also, I don't know if you saw this little news bit we probably should have brought up before, but the new Warner Brothers Discovery merger of two companies, the new CEO is like, we need a DCEU that it
No,
compares with
Nope.
the MCU.
nope. But it's not this Batman.
I mean, it's never going to, but like,
No.
yeah, that's where they're pushing. They're like, we want a Feige, we want, we want this.
if anything, it's
gonna ruin
Affleck.
a whole bunch of shit.
If it's
you're right,
anything, it's
it's-
Affleck. It's not this Pattinson Batman. This needs to be a Batman world, and only a Batman world.
But
Yeah.
Affleck's not coming back for Batman, though.
I know,
So
but
that's-
what I'm saying, it's like it has to be that level. It has to be.
Yeah, so you're
an
right. You're
Affleck.
right. But so it's already been stated by Warner Brothers that the Matt Reeves Batman is designed to be the start of a trilogy and the start of a shared universe.
No. I'm out.
So-
Bye. I'm going to bed. Night. Cashing out. I'm done.
Thanks for watching.
Yep. Lights off.
This is where Dan smashes the guitar. Fuck off.
Thank you. Thanks all for listening.
No,
Bye
he's
bye.
gone.
Bye bye. Bye bye. No. Bye.
See ya.
Talk about spinning the dummy. Classic Dan. I know he can still hear me. Fuck you, pal. Anyway, guys, thank you very much. We're going to go in a much more civilized fashion because
we're more civilized?
Well, I'm like Obi-Wan.
Fair enough.
So
As
uncivilized.
long as I'm not fucking Anakin. It's so unfair.
Hey, you did good.
All right.
Like Hayden Christensen.
Thanks for listening. Good night.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.